Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Naruto reveals his rinnegan in chunin exams. Before I start, please support for more amazing content and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by SNAKE 57575 and link in the description and support writer. Let's start the video. I do not own Naruto. Naruto Uzumaki, the dobe of the Konoha Academy, sat in the corner of his classroom. He had just got into class with 5 minutes to spare. The 14-year-old blonde sat in the back corner at a table all by himself, as he had no friends to sit with, which wasn't surprising to him. He hid everything about himself under a facade of idiocy that included his skills, his looks, his intelligence and even his adoptive family. No one in the village except him, the Hokage. Anko and Kurenai knew Naruto was adopted several years ago by the secret couple. Naruto hated hiding everything, but it was for the best, but it would change as soon as he graduated. Once he graduated, he planned to reveal everything. Naruto was cut from his musings when he heard the door open and in strolled Sasuke Uchiha, the class's rookie of the year. He was a dark boy, always brooding, or at least that's what he had been like since his clan was killed one night by his own brother. Naruto knew the boy had his secrets and there was something big he tried to keep hidden. Sasuke was always under a henge transformation, Naruto could tell, and at the first opportunity he would call out the boy on it, but that would have to wait as again the door opened, but this time revealing one Iruka Yamino, the class's chunin instructor. Everyone finished their conversations quickly and moved to use all of the open seats, except the two by Naruto. The blonde sighed, the only friends he had that were his own age were thousands of kilometers away in Suna and Kumo respectively. Everyone paid attention as Iruka began to speak. "Alright everyone, before we begin today we have a new student joining us today," said Iruka. This caused anger to erupt from some. "But how come they haven't had to be here for any of the other crap? They can just come and join our class a week before graduations," roared Kiba Inuzuka. Naruto thought very little of the loud obnoxious dog boy. He smelt bad and was overly arrogant with very few redeeming traits, not to mention he was dumb as a doorknob, although that might be a little insulting to doorknobs. Because Kiba has only just come to Konoha recently and was actually supposed to join this class after graduation, but she insisted in joining now, said Iruka. "Where's she from?" asked Ino. Naruto hated Ino with a passion. Loud annoying fangirl were the only words to describe the girl. "She is from Suna now. Instead of asking me questions you can ask her," said Iruka before the door opened and a girl walked in. "Ai-chan?" questioned Naruto as soon as he laid eyes on the girl, whose eyes shot to the origin of the voice. "Naruto-kun," said the girl with a smile on her face. The girl had long scruffy red hair tied into a ponytail. She had light green-blue pupilless eyes with black rings around her eyes. She wore a red shirt that went from just above her navel to just above her C-cup breasts, over which she wore a beige vest that went over her left shoulder and down to just above her navel. She wore a pair of fishnet leggings and a two-layered skirt, the bottom layer being black and the top layer being red. The top layer was divided into two parts, one on each side, with about a 5-centimeter gap at the front and back separating them, and on her back, she carried a gourd. "Oh, you two know each other?" questioned Iruka. "Uh-huh," said Gaia, nodding enthusiastically. Naruto just nodded, still not believing what he was seeing. "Well Gaia, why don't you tell us about yourself?" suggested Iruka. "What do you want to know?" asked Gaia. Before Iruka could speak, Sakura Haruno spoke up. "Why are you in Konoha?" asked Sakura. Gaia smiled and simply pointed to Naruto. "You're here for Naruto Baka?" questioned Sakura. At this the smile Gaia had been wearing the whole time dropped. "What did you call him?" questioned Gaia in a dangerous tone. "Naruto Baka," said Sakura, who apparently didn't hear the tone in Gaia's voice. Gaia's hair shadowed her eyes as she raised her hand slowly. At speeds no one had seen from him, Naruto was at the front holding Gaia's hand in his own. She looked at him with a slight dusting of pink on her cheeks, only to see him shake his head. Gaia looked a little sad and stepped back, holding her arms apart and doing the puppy dog eyes no jutsu. "That's not fair, Gaia-chan," said Naruto. Gaia didn't even flinch. Naruto sighed and smiled before stepping forwards and hugging Gaia, who hugged him back tightly. "I missed you, Gaia-chan," said Naruto. "I missed you more, Naruto-kun," said Gaia as she hugged him. Her eyes were shut tight. After a moment the duo was interrupted by a cough from Iruka. "You two about done?" questioned Iruka. Naruto just glared at the man. "No, but the rest can wait," said Gaia. "How does a dope like you know a hot chick like her?" questioned Kiba. Naruto growled. "You know what, I told myself I would wait till graduation before doing this, but you're all pissing me off," growled Naruto before snapping his fingers and was engulfed in a plume of smoke like he was undoing a transformation. Once the smoke cleared, Naruto looked almost completely different. Naruto now had spiky blonde hair with red streaks in it and red tips to the spikes. Naruto now wore a white hooded short-sleeved jumper, black shorts, black arm warmers and white combat boots, also strapped to his back a black nadachi, almost as long as he was tall. No one could tell if Naruto's eyes were different because they were shut tight, but there was a scar running over the inside of Naruto's left eye, and Naruto now had much more pronounced incisors being more like fangs than teeth, and the boy's skin was a bit paler. Naruto's eyes snapped open and he glared at Kiba. "Outside now," ordered Naruto. Everyone just stared at his new eyes, they all lilac with a ripple-like pattern radiating from the center, where there was a slit for a pupil instead of a circle. That combined with Naruto's new look made him look downright intimidating. "Aw, poor little dope thinks he can beat me," said Kiba, as if talking to a baby. Naruto simply ignored Kiba in favor of walking outside. Kiba and the rest of the class followed, including Iruka and Mizuki. Once everyone was outside, Naruto and Kiba, with Akamaru on his head, wandered over to the sparring ring. "Rules dope?" questioned Kiba. "Anything goes, mutt," said Naruto. Kiba growled at Naruto. "Begin," said Iruka, starting the match. He was just as enthralled as the rest of those present. Kiba began circling Naruto, who was standing in the middle, like a hunter stalking its prey. Naruto stood there motionless as Kiba circled him. Once Kiba got behind Naruto into the blonde's blind spot, he lunged at the blonde, lashing out at the boy's head. Naruto simply ducked under the slow attack and let the Inuzuka fly over him. As soon as Kiba landed, he launched at Naruto again in a fury of swipes. Kiba swiped at the Riteid's head, neck, arms, shoulders, legs, anywhere and everywhere that he could, and every time he missed. Naruto simply ducked, dodged and weaved around the attacks. Kiba, seeing the ease at which Naruto was dodging his attacks, swiped faster and faster, going as fast as he could, and yet Naruto was still easily dodging him. "Fight back, damn it, fight back," yelled Kiba. Naruto rolled his eyes at the young Inuzuka and continued to avoid the attacks thrown his way. Naruto stepped back from the young Inuzuka, who ran forwards at Naruto, only for said blonde to spin around Kiba and finally launch a punch at the Inuzuka. Naruto hit Kiba in the back, sending him rolling forward, sprawled out on the floor. Kiba glared at Naruto. "Lucky shot," growled Kiba, standing back up. "Shikyaku no Jutsu, 4 legs technique," called Kiba, dropping to the ground as his already feral appearance became more so. Kiba then tossed his now dismounted dog, a pill which Akamaru promptly ate, making his fur go red. "Jin Bunshin, man-beast clone," called Kiba as Akamaru jumped onto the dog boy's back before in a plume of smoke, Akamaru was replaced with a second Kiba. "Get rid of it, damn it, one was bad enough," said Naruto, causing everyone present to laugh at Kiba, both of whom growled at the comment before both of the Kibas lunged at Naruto, continually swiping at him. Naruto just ducked, dodged and weaved around the attacks. Both Kibas eventually jumped back and glared at Naruto, who stood between them. "Are we fighting yet?" asked Naruto, earning a growl from Kiba. Kiba and Akamaru ran forwards at Naruto before they started to violently spin. "Datsuka, fang over fang," called Kiba as he and Akamaru spun at Naruto. Naruto jumped backwards, avoiding the cyclones that were Kiba and Akamaru, but then the 2 cyclones turned to Naruto. "Oh, he can turn," said Naruto, who simply stood there and let the 2 cyclones come at him. The cyclones drew ever and ever closer to Naruto, who didn't do anything to move. When the 2 cyclones hit Naruto, there was the sound of flesh hitting metal, and 2 howls of pain were heard as they cyclones diverted course and stopped spinning to reveal both Kibas looking down at their hands. "Hurts, don't it?" said Naruto, looking bored. "What the hell did you do?" screamed Kiba. "Nothing, you did it all yourself," said Naruto. "Why, you," said Kiba, going to attack Naruto again, but in the blink of an eye, said blonde was in front of Kiba. "Now get this into your thick head, mutt," said Naruto, slamming his fist into Kiba's gut, making said boy double over in pain and cough up saliva and a little bit of blood. The other Kiba ran over to them, only for Naruto to spin around in a blur and hit the second Kiba with his fist, sending Akamaru out of the ring, rolling and spinning as the Jin Bunshin was dispelled. The students then all saw that Naruto has lightning on his arm. "I am not a dope, I can kick your ass, and if you piss me off again I will put you in the hospital for a month," said Naruto as the lightning danced up and down his arm. Kiba couldn't even nod, he just lay there and let unconsciousness take him. "Winner, Naruto," said Iruka. Naruto jumped back and landed next to Gaia. "Now, given that we're all out here, let's get today's Taijutsu going," said Iruka. "Now first up we'll have Gaia and Sakura," said Iruka. "Is this straight Taijutsu?" asked Gaia. "Yes, Gaia, why?" questioned Iruka. "I don't know any Taijutsu," said Gaia. "What, how could Suna not have taught you Taijutsu?" questioned Iruka. This said Naruto, throwing his fist in the general direction of Gaia. When his fist got within a meter, sand shot out of the gourd and stopped Naruto's hand. "Is why," said Naruto. "Alright, first chapter over." "I don't own Naruto." It was the evening of the most recent Konoha Genin exam, and the Hokage was sitting in the council chambers with the clan heads, the civilian council and the Jonin, who volunteered to take a team. "Alright, just before we make a start on putting the teams together, I have an act regarding the genin that I wish to put in place, or at least run a trail with the genin who passed their final test," said Hiruzen. I wish to place the genin teams in housing together so that they become better acquainted with each other, forming stronger bonds to strengthen their teams. Also due to this the genin would quickly develop a sense of responsibility, needing to pay for their own food and rent, said Hiruzen. All the clan heads looked a little unsettled, as did Kurenai, but she was seen by no one except Anko, who stood beside Kurenai and was also feeling unsettled but kept it hidden much better. Now I am in no way suggesting banning the children from seeing their parents, just suggesting that they live with their teammates to improve bonds between them, said Hiruzen. That does sound like a reasonable thought, but what if the members of one particular team hate one another? Questioned Hiashi. It is for that reason that we are going to ignore traditional team assembly and form teams that would work well together, both in terms of complementary skills and personalities, said Hiruzen. The clan heads nodded at his logic and reasoning. Now I would like to put the matter to a vote, and given this is a shinobi matter the civilians do not get a say, said Hiruzen. What, screeched Mibuyuki Haruno. Like hell we have no say, my daughter is one of the graduates, screeched the pink-haired woman standing up. Sit down and shut up, I am in charge here and you are only here because I have allowed it, yelled Hiruzen. Mibuyuki, quickly sit down and shut up. Alright Ninja Council, all in favor of the Genin Housing Act? Questioned Hiruzen. All of the clan heads raised their hands, signaling their agreement. Okay, so whichever teams pass their final exam will now be placed into housing together, said Hiruzen. Now as for the teams, let's get started with deciding who's teamed up with whom, said Hiruzen as he handed a pile of folders around the table before some were handed to the jonin standing near the doorway. Okajama, said one of the civilians, a fat man balding and would be round enough that if he tripped everyone would get out of the way of the boulder. Yes, what is it? Questioned Hiruzen. What is its name doing here? Surely it couldn't have passed the academy, said the man. To whom would you be referring, came the cold and venomous voice of Kurenai. She could see who the man was talking about. Second from the bottom, surely it must be a mistake, said the man. In the blink of an eye the man had snakes biting on his neck and Kurenai was standing behind him with a kunai at his neck. I'm so sorry, would you like to call my son in it again or would you prefer to keep your head, said Kurenai in an icy cold tone. Yes, please do call our child in it again, my snakes are every so hungry and you look like just the type of meat they like, said Anko from across the room, her sleeve being the origin of the snakes. What are you two saying, the child, he is talking, Abu, began Mibuyuki, only to be interrupted by Kurenai holding a second kunai to the pink-haired howler monkey's throat. Anko and I adopted Naruto 6 years ago, but he told us to keep it a secret so that you stupid villagers wouldn't try and disrespect us for caring for him, said Kurenai. Why would you care for that demon, ugh, said the fat merchant before his throat was slit by Kurenai's kunai. Come on you assholes, give me an excuse, dared Kurenai. Enough, civilians, get out now, ordered Hiruzen. Most got up and left grumbling. Alright, now that that's settled let's decide on the team, said Hiruzen. Number next morning in the Konoha Academy number. Naruto sat at the back of the room and for once he wasn't sitting alone, Gaia was next to him. Both had just got there and were waiting for team assignments. Gaia had only been in Konoha a week but already knew who she didn't want to be put on a team with. She knew Naruto and her would be put together but they were both trying to work out who their other team member might be. What do you think, Hinata? Maybe? Questioned Gaia. No, I don't think so, maybe Kiba, said Naruto. I hope not, said Gaia. Before either could suggest another person the door opened to reveal Iruka with a clipboard in his hands and an evil smirk on his face. Naruto did not like that look. Iruka waltzed into the center of the room where he began an "I'm proud of all of you" rant lecture which almost everyone tuned out. Half an hour later, after Iruka finished his rant, everyone's attention was drawn to him for an announcement. Alright everyone, now before I get to the team placements I would like to announce the Rookie of the Year, said Iruka. The class went dead silent. Alright, the Rookie of the Year is, said Iruka, pausing for dramatic effect. Naruto, said Iruka. The whole class then erupted into roars of disbelief, the Sasuke fan club claiming that there was no way that Naruto Baka was better than their Sasuke-kun. Naruto simply ignored the whole deal, he could care less, but it would require surgery. Everyone, enough, yelled Iruka. Naruto is Rookie of the Year, he scored best on the graduation exams. Nothing can change that, said Iruka. The class slowly quieted down. Once everyone had quieted down, Iruka spoke again. Alright, now on to the most important part, team placements. Now please remain quiet and just listen for your name now. Team 1, said Iruka as he looked down at the clipboard in his hands. Naruto zoned out until he heard either Gaia or his own name called. Team 7, Naruto Uzumaki, said Iruka, making Naruto instantly pay attention. Gaia, said Iruka, making Naruto smile at his only friend in the Konoha Academy. And Sasuke Uchiha, said Iruka. Both Naruto and Gaia looked down at the dark-haired boy who, unnoticed by all but Gaia and Naruto, was breathing a sigh of relief. What, I'm not with my Sasuke-kun? That can't be right, screeched Sakura. As she finished, a black rose petal flew past her face and where it had brushed against her on her cheek the skin split. In the next 3 seconds, a small tornado of black and red rose petals was flying around the annoying girl. Shut it Pinky or you'll become bloody, threatened Naruto, cracking his knuckles making Sakura shut up. Team 7 Sensei is Kakashi Haddock, said Iruka. Naruto sighed. He had heard about Kakashi from his Kasan, and Kachan Kakashi was always 2 hours late for anything short of an A rank mission or summons from the Hokage. Alright, moving on. Team 8 Hinata Haika, Ino Yamanaka and Shikamaru Nara, the Sensei Kurenai Yuhi, said Iruka, and before he moved on, the rose petals that had still been violently spinning around Sakura broke off into 3 groups, each surrounding the members of Team 8. If any of you 3 piss of my Kachan, your bodies will never be found, declared the blonde redhead in an icy venomous tone. All 3 nodded their heads violently quickly. Everyone noted that Naruto's Nadachi had disappeared when the rose petals first appeared. Ahem, moving on. Team 10 Shino Abiram, Kiba Inuzuka, Choji Akimichi and Sakura Haruno, and your sensei is Asuma Suratobi, said Iruka. The class was half expecting Naruto to threaten one or all of them, but to their surprise nothing. Okay, well everyone, your senseis will be here in an hour. I suggest you use the time to at least become civil with those on your teams, said Iruka, walking out of the room. Sasuke-kun, would you like to go out to lunch with me? As you know this, why, said Sakura. No, get this into your thick pink head. I hate you. I hate everything about you. You are annoying, obnoxious and stupid. Leave me alone, said Sasuke, getting up and walking out of the room. Naruto looked at Gaia, who looked back at him, and the two nodded and got up following Sasuke. Once the 3 got outside, Naruto spoke. Sasuke, you want to come to lunch with me and Gaia, you know, so we can get to know each other better? Questioned Naruto. Before Sasuke could respond, Gaia sweetened the deal. And get away from your fangirls for a while, said Gaia. Deal, said Sasuke. The trio walked out of the academy grounds and headed toward Ichiraku's ramen. Sorry Sasuke, but there's little to no choice of restaurant when I'm with anyone, said Naruto. Why? Asked Sasuke. Let's just say that I'm not liked around the village, and it's not for my pranks, and leave it at that for now, said Naruto. Sasuke grew curious of why, but simply filed it away for later. After about 10 minutes of walking, the trio walked into a little ramen stand. Guchi-oji amni, I'm here, called Naruto. Naruto, it's good to see you. Who are your friends? Questioned an elderly gentleman behind the counter. These are my teammates Gaia-chan and Sasuke, said Naruto happily before jumping up onto a stool. Oh, so this is the guy you told us so much about, said a girl a few years older than the trio of ninja as she walked out of the back room. Yep, said Naruto, smiling. Alright, so what'll you have? Asked Am. I'll have the usual, said Naruto. Am nodded before turning to Gaia, who looked at the menu thinking quickly. Can I get a pork ramen please, said Gaia. Am nodded, then finally turned to Sasuke. I'd like a chicken ramen please, said Sasuke. Coming right up, said Am as she walked into the kitchen with her father, and the two began to cook the trio's ramen. Look Sasuke, said Naruto, drawing his attention to the blonde boy. I know that you're hiding a lot from everyone just like I was, and I'm not asking you to stop, I'm just asking that you drop the asshole act. Well, we are on a team together, said Naruto. Sasuke for the most part looked shocked. How was all Sasuke managed to stutter. The eyes are windows to the soul. When one tries their hardest to hide their own pain away, they become good at telling people's intentions from the eyes alone, said Naruto. I can see self-loathing in your eyes whenever you say something snide. I can see pain in your eyes when you push someone away, but most of all I can see longing when you see people happy together, said Naruto. Sasuke looked about ready to bolt. We are teammates, we need to know that we can trust you, and for you to know you can trust us, said Naruto. We want to know that you have our backs and we want you to know we have yours, said Gaia, breaking her silence. Sasuke looked at Naruto, then to Gaia and back again several times. Thank you, said Sasuke, nodding. Alright, second chapter over. I don't own Naruto. Alright you 3, let's start with some introductions, said the masked jonin that stood in front of the 3 genin. Why don't you start, Sensei? Suggested Naruto. Alright, my name is Kakashi Haddock. There are a few things I like and a few I don't like, my hobbies I don't feel like sharing, and my dream is none of your business. Blondie, you first, said Kakashi, pointing to Naruto. All we learned was his name was the collective thought of the genin. My name is Naruto Uzumaki Yuhi. I like roses, the moon, swords, snakes, my friends, Gaia-chan, my Ka-san and Ka-chan and Old Man Hokage. My dislikes include backstabbers, traitors, those who abandon their friends or family, and those who can't see the scroll for the kunai. My hobbies are watching the moon, practicing genjutsu with my Ka-chan, practicing my kinjutsu with Yugao Oba-san and Hade Oji-san, gardening, and hanging out with my friends, and my dream is to become Hokage, said Naruto. Sasuke, who had been paying close attention, picked apart what Naruto had said and stored the important bits away for later use. Gaia just smiled that she was under his likes and not as a friend. Alright, next the redhead, said Kakashi, pointing to Gaia. My name is Gaia. I like Naruto-kun, my brother and sister back in Suna, Kurenai-san and Anko-san, the stars and desert plants. I don't like traitors, backstabbers, rapists, arrogant people, and those who can't see the bucket for the water within. My hobbies include stargazing, hanging out with Naruto-kun and running around in the rain. My dream is to one day have a big and happy family, said Gaia. Naruto smiled at her. Sasuke again filed all the useful bits of information away for when he tried to decipher the riddles that were Naruto, Uzumaki and Gaia. Alright, lastly Mr. Short, Dark and Brooding, said Kakashi. My name is Sasuke Uchiha, declared Sasuke, getting annoyed that he was the only one to get a stupid nickname. I like tomatoes, my clan and the rain. I dislike many things. My hobbies include training, gardening and swimming. My dream is to one day restore my clan and kill a certain man, said Sasuke darkly. Okay, so we have two lovebirds, one of whom sounds like a mama's boy, and then we have an emo avenger. How did Hokage-sama think this team would work? Thought Kakashi. Alright you lot, well tomorrow you have one final test to pass before you're officially genin, so meet me at training ground 7 at 7. Bring all the equipment you think you will need. This final test has a 66% failure rate, said Kakashi before getting up to leave. Oh yeah, before I forget, I suggest you don't eat breakfast, you lonely chuck, said Kakashi with an eye smile before leaving in a shunshin. Sasuke, said Naruto, drawing the attention of the breeding Uchiha to him. Yeah? Responded Sasuke. The person you want to kill, it's your brother, isn't it, said Naruto. Sasuke was a little bit shocked, but nodded anyway. I'm not going to say don't do it, but what I will say is don't live only to kill him, live to protect your friends, and don't you dare say you have none, you have us, and when the time comes then face Itachi, said Naruto. Again Sasuke was shocked. We have your back, Sasuke, said Gaia, finishing Naruto's last thought. There was a moment of silence. And I have yours, said Sasuke, breaking the silence. But that's what we like to hear. Now I suggest the three of us take a little trip to training ground 7, said Naruto, getting up. Sasuke and Gaia followed and held Naruto's hand as the trio walked down from the academy roof and off to training ground 7. Number the next morning number. It was 8:30 and all three members of Team 7 had just arrived at training ground 7. You said yesterday that Kakashi Sensei would be 3 hours late this morning, Naruto grumbled Sasuke. That I did, said Naruto, looking at Sasuke as the three stood in the middle of the field. Then why are we here an hour and a half early? Asked Sasuke, confused. So we can set up traps and a plan, said Naruto. Number an hour and a half later number. Naruto, Gaia and Sasuke were in the middle of the training ground, Naruto sitting under a tree, sharpening his Nadachi's midnight black blade. Gaia was sitting next to Naruto, leaning on his shoulder with a smile on her face and her eyes shut, and Sasuke was in front of the duo doing light warm-ups. All three looked up when a small tornado of leaves kicked up. Once it subsided, it revealed Kakashi, giving them all what could only be called an eye smile. Sorry I'm late, an old lady needed help with her shopping, and as a good citizen I couldn't say no, said Kakashi. We all know that's bullshit, but let's move on, said Naruto, standing up and resheathing his Nadachi. The three genin moved into a line in front of Kakashi as the man himself pulled out a timer. Alright you three, you have until noon to get these bells off me. You may use whatever you think necessary, be it kunai, jutsu or swords. Anyone who doesn't get a bell will be sent back to the academy, and they will also be tied to one of those posts while the rest of us eat our lunch in front of you, said Kakashi, expecting to hear rumbling stomachs, but instead got nothing. You see, you only advised us not to eat yesterday, never specifically said we can't. Ninja need to be able to decide what is good information and what isn't and then act on that, said Naruto with a smile of his own. Right, well I guess the only thing left is to begin, said Kakashi, and in an instant the three genin were gone. And now I wait, muttered Kakashi, pulling out a book and began to read it. Number with SASUKE number. What the hell is going on? Naruto said that Kakashi would most likely be testing our teamwork, but this is anything but it's almost as if Kakashi is trying, muttered Sasuke before a thought hit him. I have to find them, said Sasuke, bolting off in a random direction looking for his teammates. Number with Gaia and Naruto number. What's going on, Naruto-kun? You said Kakashi would test teamwork. This doesn't say teamwork to me, this is anything but a teamwork exercise, said Gaia. That's the point of this exercise, said Naruto, drawing a confused look from Gaia. He's trying to divide us, make us work as individuals, not a team. We have to work together to get the bells, said Naruto. Just after he said that, both genin heard a noise behind them and both turned to the noise. Gaia with her sand at the ready, Naruto with a kunai in his hands. It's me, calm down, said Sasuke, jumping back. Both Naruto and Gaia eyed him suspiciously. What time did you arrive this morning? Asked Gaia. 8:30 guys, it's me, said Sasuke. Naruto and Gaia eyed him for a moment before letting up and nodding. So I take it you worked out what the test is? Asked Naruto. Sasuke nodded. Yeah, the test is to see if we can overcome our differences to work together for a common cause, said Sasuke. Naruto nodded. Alright, here's the plan. Number half an hour later with KAKASHI number. Where are they? I would have thought at least one of them would have tried by now, thought Kakashi, looking up from his book. Kakashi was then forced to jump out of the way as several kunai and shuriken came flying at him. Finally, thought Kakashi, looking around waiting for the next attack. He didn't have to wait long, as while he was looking around, Naruto ran out of the tree line with his Nadachi drawn. Kakashi pulled out a kunai to block the downward swing of Naruto's sword. It was too late that Kakashi noted Naruto's smirk. As Naruto's sword hit Kakashi's kunai, the black blade shattered. Naruto jumped back from the blade lock and threw the hilt of his Nadachi up into the air, and then that too disintegrated, confusing Kakashi. Anabira no Arashi, Petal Storm, called Naruto. Kakashi's eyes widened as all of the shattered parts of Naruto's Nadachi floated up and flew at him. Kakashi noted that the blade parts looked like rose petals before jumping out of the way. Heitan Gakakyu no Jutsu, Fire-style Great Fireball Jutsu, called a voice from behind Kakashi. The man turned only to see a huge fireball flying at him. What are these kids? Genin shouldn't be this good, thought Kakashi, using a quick Kawarimi substitution with a nearby log to get out of the fireball's range. Tsuna Shuriken, Sand Shuriken, called a female voice from beside Kakashi as a large number of shuriken made of sand at Kakashi, who ducked to the ground to avoid the projectiles. Kakashi rolled to the side as Naruto flipped over him, the petals temporarily forming back into his Nadachi to slash at Kakashi before disintegrating into petals again. Kakashi jumped up with his back to a tree and put his book away and swapped it for a second kunai along with the first kunai he held in a reverse grip. Now in front of Kakashi stood the three genin, standing side by side, Naruto in the center, Sasuke to his left and Gaia to Naruto's right. Behind Naruto was what looked like a snake made up of black and red rose petals. Gaia had sand floating around her, and Sasuke had a handful of kunai and shuriken. Sasuke, said Naruto, the black-haired Uchiha heir, then lobbed his projectiles at Kakashi, who deflected them all with relative ease. Before the silver-haired man ran at the trio of genin, Sasuke and Gaia jumped to the side, leaving Naruto in the center of the clearing. Naruto held his hand out to the side as if holding the hilt of a sword, and the petal snake behind him flew into his open hand and constructed his Nadachi again. Naruto swung his blade at Kakashi, who swung his kunai at Naruto. The two weapons locked. Kakashi, having more years' experience and being stronger, had the upper hand, pushed Naruto back. Naruto separated from Kakashi and brought his blade down on the jonin again. Kakashi blocked before swinging one kunai in a wide arc. Naruto ducked to the ground to avoid the slash. Kakashi, who was about to deliver a follow-up attack to Naruto, jumped back as a small wave of sand appeared between the two. Naruto jumped back a bit before charging right in again. Another barrage of kunai and shuriken came flying out of the trees at Kakashi, and in a strong display of his skills, he threw one of his kunai at one of the kunai flying at him before flipping over Naruto and catching the deflected kunai in his open hand, and as soon as he landed, Kakashi ran forwards at Naruto, slashing at the genin, who was blocking to the best of his ability and with the help of Gaya's sand were available, but Naruto was still getting cut and pushed back. Kakashi swung on kunai high and the other low. Naruto used his own Kawarimi to get away, but instead of a log or something like that, he was replaced with a bunch of red and black rose petals. Before Kakashi could do anything else, Sasuke jumped out of the bushes and ran at the jonin, who stood there and waited for Sasuke to get to him. Once Sasuke got to Kakashi, the two began a fierce taijutsu match. Sasuke threw a punch at Kakashi's midsection, but the jonin grabbed the duck-butt-haired teen's wrist. Sasuke then sent his other fist towards Kakashi's head, hoping to catch Jonin unaware, but that plan failed miserably when Kakashi caught Sasuke's wrist. Sasuke quickly assessed the situation, and though of the best possible way for him to get out relatively unscathed, Sasuke, using Kakashi's grip on both his wrists against the man, jumped up and delivered a double kick to the stomach. Kakashi was caught off guard by this and was unable to block the kick. Sasuke, using Kakashi's chest as a springboard, pushed off the man and backflipped and landed on his feet in front of the stunned Kakashi. Sasuke now stood once again alongside his teammates, but just before any more attacks could be launched, the bell sounded. Anabira no Arashi, Petal Storm, Ninjutsu Kinjutsu C rank. Mid to long range petal-like blades are thrust forward in a large storm in a horizontal tornado shape. Alright people, chapter 3 over. I don't own Naruto. Team 7 Kakashi, pass or fail? Asked Hiruzen as the Jonin Sensei all stood in front of the Hokage, as well as a few chunin instructors from the academy. They passed with flying colors, said Kakashi with an eye smile. Good job Naruto, Gaia thought Anko and Kurenai at the same time. Alright, noted. Moving on, Kurenai team 8. Asked Hiruzen. They too passed Hokage-sama, said Kurenai. Very good. And finally Asuma team 10. Questioned the elderly leader of the Leaf Village. They passed but barely thanks to Sakura's efforts, said Asuma with a sigh. What do you mean, Asuma? Asked the elder Sarutobi. I mean, she was an absolute bitch to everyone. She said she should have been put on a team with, and I quote her, Sasuke-kun, and just refused to have anything to do with her teammate, said Asuma. Noted. Alright, everyone may leave, except the sensei of the passing team, said Hiruzen. His office slowly but surely emptied until only he and the three jonin in front of him remained. Alright you three, tomorrow I will tell the 10 of the genin about the program I am placing them in. I want you to bring them here at 10, and Kakashi I mean 10, not whenever you feel like showing up, said Hiruzen, leveling a glare at the silver-haired jonin. Said man gave a lazy nod. Alright, dismissed, said Hiruzen, and like that his office was empty of anyone but him and his hidden Anbu. Number with Naruto and Gaie number. Naruto and Gaia were sitting side by side in the backyard of Kurenai and Anko's house looking up at the stars. Gaia was leaning her head on Naruto's shoulder. Naruto meanwhile had his arm around Gaia and was holding her close to him. Gaia let out a sigh of content. The stars are beautiful tonight, said Gaia as she gazed up into the endless expanse above. Not as beautiful as you, my Sabaku Tenshi, desert angel, muttered Naruto, making the red-haired girl leaning on his shoulder blush. Naruto caught the blush out of the corner of his eye and leaned over and kissed Gaia square on the lips. I love you, Gaia-chan, said Naruto with a smile. I love you more, Naru-kun, said Gaia, smiling back at her blonde fiancé. Gaia still remembered the night her father had made her the happiest she had ever been in her life, the night she was told that she would be married to Naruto. Number FLASHBACK number. It was a cool night in the desert village of Suna, and Gaia was with her siblings at home waiting for their father to return home. Tamari was reading a book sitting on the couch, Kankuro was constructing a puppet of some sort, and Gaia was sitting on the couch with a stuffed fox in her hands. The fox itself was orange and had 9 tails. Now you might be wondering why a 14-year-old girl was clutching a stuffed animal. That would be because it was a gift from her first ever friend. It was a gift from Naruto. All 3 children looked up when they heard the door open, and in walked their father. The yondine Kazukiage wore a smile on his face, which was a rare occurrence for the man. What's got you so happy, Tusan? Asked Tamari. I got confirmation on an agreement I made with the Hokage today, said the Kazukiage. Oh, and what was the agreement? Asked Gaia, clutching her soft toy fox tighter. Thinking about the Hokage made her think of Naruto. Gaia-chan, before I say anything else, what do you think of the boy who gave you that fox? Asked the cage. He was my first and is probably my best friend. It's just a shame I don't get to see him a lot anymore, said Gaia, her tone taking a turn for the sad at the end. What would you say if I told you would be seeing a lot more of him? Asked the Kazukiage. What do you mean, Tusan? Asked Gaia innocently. The Kazukiage leaned down to be eye to eye with his youngest daughter. Gaia-chan, myself and the Hokage made an agreement a long time ago about you and Naruto. I'm sending you to Konoha and you are going to become Naruto-kun's bride, said the maroon-haired cage. Gaia's eyes widened to astronomical levels. Really, Tusan? I'm going to Konoha and I'm going to marry Naru-kun? Asked Gaia, her only response a nod from her father. She did what any girl would do after being told she was to become her crush's bride. She squealed in joy before starting to giggle to herself, squeezing her stuffed fox close to her. Number flashback, END number. Watching the 2 young lovebirds from the back door of the house was Anko, who was leaning on the doorframe watching her adopted son with a smile on her face. I'm home, called Kurenai walking through the front door. Anko turned to her wife as she walked through the hallways. SHHH, Naruto and Gaia are having a moment, said Anko with a smile as well as a shushing motion. Kurenai looked at Anko, who pointed out the back door. Both women then walked over to the open door to see Naruto and Gaia in the same position they were before. Aw, they look so adorable, whispered Kurenai. Anko pulled Kurenai closer to her by the hips and kissed her lightly on the lips. I'm so glad we took Naruto, and said Anko, looking out at her son and his fiancée. Number FLASHBACK number. A very dressed-up Anko sat at a table across from an equally dressed-up Kurenai. Anko wore a long purple sleeveless dress, a pair of long white gloves that went up to just short of her shoulders, and a pair of high heels. Anko had her hair tied up into a bun with a pair of senbon in a cross shape to keep it up, and a pair of bangs framing her face. Kurenai, on the other hand, also wore a long dress, but hers was a deep shade of red to match her ruby-colored eyes, and a pair of high heels. Kurenai let her hair cascade down her shoulders like normal. These 2 lovely dressed-up ladies were in one of the most expensive restaurants in Konoha, the Fiery Dragon, and they were in a room separate from all of the other patrons. They had just finished their meals. Anko was now just simply taking in the beauty of the woman sitting opposite of her. Well, this was lovely, Anko, said Kurenai with a gentle smile as she looked at Anko. It was, said Anko with a smile, gazing at Kurenai. Well, it's getting late, I should probably get home, said Kurenai, getting up. Wait, before you leave I have one more thing I would like to talk to you about, said Anko, getting up and walking to beside Kurenai. What is it, Anko-chan? Asked Kurenai. Nai-chan, said Anko, kneeling down and reaching into her pocket. Will you marry me? Asked Anko, finishing her question as she pulled a little box out of her pocket and flipped the lid open to reveal a golden ring with a silver snake on top with a sapphire for the snake's eye and a reasonably sized diamond in the center of the snake. Kurenai for her part was speechless, both hands covering her mouth. Yes Anko, yes, a million times yes, almost squealed Kurenai, pouncing on Anko, kissing her square on the lips with as much passion as she could put into a single kiss. Anko wrapped her arms around Kurenai's neck and pulled her closer. Eventually, after a couple of minutes, the need to breathe became pressing, and so the two lovers parted. While regaining their breath, Anko slipped a ring onto Kurenai's finger. "I love you so much," Kurenai said, Anko hugging Kurenai close. "I love you too," Anko said, Kurenai leaning on Anko's shoulder and lightly kissing the snake mistress's neck. Both ladies got up and walked out of their private dining room hand in hand. They quickly exited the restaurant. "Your place or mine?" asked Anko. "Mine for tonight," said Kurenai. Anko nodded, and the two ladies jumped to the nearest roof and began to jump from rooftop to rooftop, heading back to Kurenai's apartment. As the two were jumping, they heard shouting, and being the curious kunoichi they decided to investigate. The sight they came upon, though, could only be described as horrific. When the two women reached the source of the commotion, they found a small blonde, red-haired boy being attacked by a mob of at least 20 civilians. Kurenai and Anko both just jumped down between the mob and the child. "What are you people doing attacking a child?" questioned Kurenai. "That's no child, it's a demon," yelled one villager. "He is just a child, don't you dare talk about him like that," growled Anko as she pulled out a pair of kunai and glaring at the mob. "Leave now or I will slaughter you all," declared Anko, spinning the kunai in her hands. The villagers, while dumb, were not dumb enough to attack a pissed kunoichi so slowly, but annoyed they left. Once Anko was sure they were gone, she turned around to check on the boy. "Anko, what's the matter? I've never seen you so pissed," questioned Kurenai worriedly. "These villagers treat this boy worse than they treat me, I've seen it, and worst of all, he has no one," said Anko, almost letting a tear fall from her eye. "Anko," said Kurenai, putting a hand on the snake mistress's shoulder. Anko put her hand over Kurenai's hand. "What if he did?" asked Kurenai. Anko turned back to Kurenai. "Are you suggesting what I think you are?" questioned Anko. "We'll take him, every child deserves familial love, and this is just wrong," said Kurenai, gesturing to the alley around them. "Thank you, Kurenai-chan," said Anko, kissing her on the back of the hand. Before turning around to the unconscious boy and picking him up. "Let's go," said Anko, taking off. Number flashback, END number. Kurenai and Anko looked out into the garden at their adoptive son and soon-to-be daughter-in-law. "Well, I better get dinner going," said Kurenai, lightly pecking Anko on the cheek, then walking off towards the kitchen. Anko observed Naruto and Gaia for a moment before following Kurenai. Number later, that NIGHT number. Naruto now sat on his double bed with a scroll, several books, paper, ink and brushes all around him. He was practicing his fuinjutsu. He was good for his age, but was not a master by any stretch of the imagination, which is why he was practicing. "Alright kids, bedtime," yelled Kurenai. Naruto turned to his clock and saw it was 11:30. "What the hell, last time I checked it was 7. Questioned Naruto unbelievingly. Naruto looked at the clock again to make sure it was right before he quickly sealed all his sealing equipment into a scroll which he put on his bedside table. Naruto quickly changed into his sleepwear, which consisted of a pair of orange boxers. Just after he finished changing, he heard a knock at his door. "I'm decent," called Naruto, and the door opened, revealing Gaia, who had yet to change. "Were you practicing your fuinjutsu again, Naru-kun?" asked Gaia as she put her gourd down. "Yeah, I feel I'm getting better," said Naruto with a smile. Gaia grabbed her sleepwear from the bed before walking into the bathroom to change. "Well, that's good. What level did you say you were up to?" asked Gaia from behind the closed bathroom door. "At this stage I'm at stage 3, almost at stage 4, hopefully I can't to stage 4 before the end of the month," said Naruto. The door to the bathroom opened and out walked Gaia. Naruto still couldn't believe how beautiful Gaia was. Gaia now stood before Naruto in a simple red tank top and matching panties, and that was it. "I know I say this a lot, but you're beautiful, Gaia-chan," said Naruto. Gaia's cheeks went as red as her hair as she smiled at Naruto. Naruto lay back in his bed and Gaia took her spot at his side, snuggled up against him. "I love you, Naru-kun," said Gaia. "I love you more, Gaia-chan," said Naruto before kissing the girl's forehead. Another chapter done and dusted. Alright, here's the deal, I have a backlog of chapters written, so the daily updates will go until the backlog is finished. Not much to say about this chapter. I don't own Naruto. Naruto, Sasuke and Gaia stood with Kakashi in front of the Hokage. Next to them stood Ino, Hinata, Shikamaru and Kurenai. Ino was trying to get close to Sasuke, who was using Naruto as a shield. Gaia was glaring at Hinata, who was stealing quick sideways glances at Naruto. Shikamaru was standing there looking like he was about to fall asleep on his feet, and Naruto just stood there acting like he cared about all that was going on around him. The door to the Hokage's office opened and in walked Team 10. "Sasuke-kun," squealed Sakura as she threw herself at the Uchiha, only to be met with a fist to the face courtesy of Naruto. "Leave my teammate alone, get it into you, 10-foot thick skull. Sasuke hates your guts, he will never love you, so give up and move on," said Naruto as he grabbed the Banshee around the throat and threw her to the floor. Naruto growled Sakura as she got back up and ran at the blonde with her fist cocked back. Once within striking distance however, a wall of sand rose up and blocked her fist. Everyone felt the ungodly amount of Kai rolling off the very angry Gaia. "Try to hit Naruto-kun again, and I will make sure it's the last thing you ever do," said Gaia. Everyone's attention was drawn to Hiruzen when he faked a cough. "Now I'm sure you're all wondering why I called you here," said Hiruzen. The genin all nodded. "Well, it's because there is something that I must inform you all of," said Hiruzen once again. The genin nodded. "Well, a new plan for genin teams has been proposed and you 10 are going to be the test subjects to see if we implement it fully," said Hiruzen. "So what is it?" asked Gaia. "It's called the Genin Housing Act and basically what's going to happen is you are going to be put in shared housing with your teammates in apartments so you all gain greater sense of responsibility given you'll be paying rent and be paying for your food and whatnot, and also you will form stronger bonds with your teammates so you will all work better together and you will stay in the shared housing until you reach chunin. From then on you can do as you please," said Hiruzen. "When is this happening?" asked Naruto. "Starting today," said Hiruzen. "Do we have a choice in this?" asked Shikamaru. "No, you do not, sorry Shikamaru," said Hiruzen. Said boy only nodded. "Any other questions?" asked Hiruzen, getting head shakes. In response he moved on. "Alright, team 8 and team 10 dismissed. Your sensei have been told where you are staying, go get moved into your new shared home," said Hiruzen. Both teams and their sensei left the room, leaving only Naruto, Sasuke, Gaia and Kakashi. "Now you 3 are a special case with this," said Hiruzen. "Why?" asked Gaia. "Well, because of who is in this team you have the choice of using the apartment I set aside in case or using Naruto's parents' house," said Hiruzen. Naruto's eyes shot open wide. "You mean my biological parents' house?" questioned the young blonde. Hiruzen nodded. "Just out of curiosity, why not the Uchiha compound?" asked Sasuke. "Because in the Uchiha compound you 3 could stay in different houses, which defeats the purpose of this exercise," said Hiruzen. "Okay, I see your point," said Sasuke. Hiruzen turned back to Naruto who was thinking. The room was silent for a moment while Naruto thought. "If my 2 teammates have no problems with it, then I would like to use my parents' house," Gigi said Naruto. Both Hiruzen and Naruto looked at Sasuke and Gaia, looking for any sign of an objection. Finding none, Hiruzen nodded and handed Naruto a set of keys. "Here are the keys, you know where. I suggest you explore the house with your teammates before packing your stuff," said Hiruzen. Naruto nodded and turned to Sasuke and Gaia. "Let's go then," said Naruto, walking out of the room. The 2 other members of Team 7, the 3 of them left the Hokage's tower and following Naruto they all went to the clan's district. Heading into the depths of the district, walking past the Hyuga compound and then past the Nara compound and the Yamanaka and the Aburame and the Inyazuka and finally the Uchiha, they continued walking for a while after that. Just as Sasuke was about to ask how much further a compound came into view, on the walls of the compound were spirals. As the trio got closer to the compound, a gate came into view. The gate was a large metal gate with the same spiral on the center. The trio walked up to the gate where Naruto pulled out a kunai. "What's the kunai for?" asked Sasuke. "This," said Naruto, running the kunai across the skin on his hand, leaving a trail of red behind it. Naruto rubbed the blooded appendage on the swirl on the gate. The second Naruto's hand touched the gate glowed white. The trio watched as the glow flashed light blue and the gate swung open with a creaking sound. They walked into the compound. Sasuke noted as they walked how quickly Naruto's hand healed. "Beautiful," said Gaia, looking around. That pretty much summed up everyone's thoughts. The compound itself was huge and full of plants and animals. The 3 couldn't see the back of the compound. Naruto walked forwards, the other 2 following behind, and they began to explore. Ignoring what was obviously the house for a few moments, the trio walked around the compound. Around the compound they found training grounds fully equipped with training dummies, targets and self-repair seals. A bit further into the compound Naruto found a small zen garden, which the centerpiece of the garden was a koi pond. Near the training ground Sasuke found what looked like a fully equipped forging area and armory, both fully stocked with materials, weapons and armor. Towards the back of the compound near the zen garden, there was a greenhouse which held within plants capable of making very serious poisons and other concoctions. In the rear right corner of the compound, there was a walled-off area which upon inspection was housing a natural hot water spring. They even found a large waterfall leading into a large lake at the back of the compound. After thoroughly exploring the outside of the compound, the trio of genin walked back to the front doors. Naruto pulled out the set of keys Hiruzen had given him and put one into the lock and turned the key. The lock was unlocked and the door opened with a creak. What they found inside was pretty standard: living room with 2 couches, a small TV and plenty of pictures on the wall. Next room was the kitchen, fridge and freezer, microwave, oven and 2 sinks. The next room was the dining room, another simple room, a large table large enough to fit 12 comfortably, and on the walls were more pictures, some paintings, other memorable pictures. The next room on the ground floor was the laundry, a large cupboard, washing machine and a large sink were all that was held within. The last two rooms on the ground floor were what looked like a guest bedroom and a bathroom. Then up the stairs there's 6 additional rooms, a library full of scrolls, a master bedroom with a large bed, several sets of drawers and cupboards. 2 of the other rooms were also bedrooms, one being a baby's room which brought a tear to Naruto's eye when he saw it, the other being just a regular bedroom with a single bed and a set of drawers on either side of the bed. The next room on the second floor was a bathroom, toilet, shower, bathtub, normal stuff, and the final room on the second floor was another living room, 3 two-seater couches and a large coffee table between them. After they had thoroughly explored the house, the 3 genin sat on the couches in the upstairs lounge room, Gaia and Naruto on one with Sasuke sitting opposite them. Right, well, for now Gaia and I will have the master bedroom and you can have the second upstairs bedroom, Sasuke said. Naruto. Sasuke looked at the blonde with a funny look on his face. I'm his fiancé, the two of us have been sharing a bed since the day I arrived in Konoha, said Gaia, answering Sasuke's unvoiced question. Next thing we need to organize is the responsibilities each person has, said Naruto. The other two nodded. I can't do anything that requires me to buy anything, said Naruto. Sorry to interrupt, but why is that? Asked Sasuke, interrupting Naruto. Why is what? Asked Naruto. You can't buy stuff, you have a very limited choice of restaurant for anyone who eats with you, you say you hate people who can't see the scroll for the kunai, you are incredibly close to the Hokage unlike any other orphan, and you are almost universally hated when we walk through the village, said Sasuke. I'm surprised you picked up that much from what, a day of being around me? Said Naruto. Stop avoiding the question, tell me, Naruto. You say you want me to have your back, but you don't give me anything, said Sasuke. You're not much better, said Naruto. What do you mean? Questioned Sasuke. You're under a henge transformation, and you have been for years. You have never, not once, let your henge drop, said Naruto. I have no idea what you're talking about, said Sasuke, looking anywhere but the two in front of him. That's bullshit and we both know it, said Naruto, glaring at Sasuke, who glared back. You're not making any sense, Naruto. I'm not under any henge, said Sasuke. Fine, you want to be like that, I'll tell you, but first you have to see something, said Naruto, standing up and turning around to face away from Sasuke. Gaia grabbed Naruto's hand, looking up at the boy worriedly. It's okay, Gaia-chan, he's our teammate, he deserves to know, said Naruto. Sasuke looked at the duo with curiosity. Naruto stood there for a moment. The blonde took a deep breath and reached for the bottom of his shirt and slowly pulled it up. What was hidden under the blonde boy's white jumper was what could only be described as horrific. His skin was covered in scars of some sort, be it an actual scar, a burn or a lightning tree scar. This is what happens when someone mistakes the kunai for the scroll, said Naruto, not looking back at Sasuke, whose mouth was agape in shock. I am what is called a Jinchuriki. You know the story of the Kyuubi's death, right? Questioned Naruto, looking back over his shoulder to see Sasuke with his shocked expression. The dark-haired boy nodded a bit when Naruto looked back. Well, the thing is, with the story about its death was partially a lie. You can't kill an entity of pure chakra, so the Yondaime, knowing this, did the only thing he could, he sealed it away. But no ordinary scroll could hold such a mighty power, no, it had to be sealed into a human, into me, said Naruto, closing his eyes as he looked away. Sasuke just sat there stunned in silence. I'm like Naruto too, I'm a Jinchuriki, but I hold the Ichibi, said Gaia, looking across at her teammate. The scars on my back are just the ones that didn't heal. From the day I was kicked out of the orphanage until I was taken in by my Ka-san and Ka-chan, I was beaten within an inch of my life on a weekly basis, and it got worse and worse around the time of my birthday, said Naruto, turning back around to face Sasuke, showing the other boy that there was just as many scars on Naruto's chest as his back. I wasn't treated much better back in Suna, but I had my san to protect me, said Gaia. Sasuke just sat there stunned by all that his teammates had to go through, and the other thing was Sasuke was sure they were still holding back something. I guess seeing as you have shown me this much you deserve the same, said Sasuke, standing up. Please don't think less of me for this, said Sasuke, turning away from the duo. Release, said Sasuke, who was engulfed in a cloud of smoke. Once it had subsided, it was revealed that he was actually a she. She still stood with her back to her two teammates, but she had her right hand holding her left arm nervously. Sasuke wore a black shirt with an Uchiha fan on the back in the center, a pair of gray-green shorts with a kunai holder strapped to her left leg. She had long hair tied up into a ponytail that flowed down her back like a waterfall, the longest part reaching the ground. Sasuke turned to face her teammates, revealing that her shirt was a button-up shirt that was anything but, revealing that she wore bandages around her upper chest to cover her boobs. Sasuke's charcoal black eyes looked back at her teammates nervously. Beautiful, said Naruto before he could even stop himself. The comment made the Uchiha maiden blush a deep shade of red. Why were you under a henge? Questioned Naruto, looking at the girl in disbelief. I put myself under a henge to protect myself from the civilians. If I hadn't, they would try to force me into a breeding program to restore the Uchiha clan to Konoha, and while I do wish to see the Uchiha clan reborn in Konoha, but I wish it to be under my terms, said Sasuke. So is your name still Sasuke or what, Uchiha-chan? Questioned Gaia. Sasuke turned to the other female in the room. "No, my name is Sayori, not Sasuke," said Sayori. Yet another chapter done. "I don't own Naruto." "Come on Gigi, anything but another D rank mission please," begged Naruto. It had been a month since the genin teams had been formed. Sayori had refused to be without her henge in public but promised her teammates that when at home she would drop it. Naruto and Gaia had both grown closer to Sayori, Gaia seeing the Uchiha as a sister and Naruto seeing her as a very close friend. Kakashi had been introduced to the real Sayori and so had Kurenai and Anko, but other than them that was it. Team 7 had by far been the most successful team formed, completing almost 3 times as many missions as Team 8 and almost 10 times as many as Team 10. Naruto stood in between his teammates who both wore the same displeased look he did. They all wanted a C-rank mission, they all had felt they had proved they could do it. "Well Kakashi, what do you think, are they ready?" asked Hiruzen. "Are you kidding me Hokage-sama, these 3 were ready the second day," said Kakashi with an eye smile. "Hold on just a minute, I was teaching these students except Gaia up until a month ago and I know for a fact they were not ready then," said Iruka. "Let me stop you right there Iruka, 1 month they can have improved immensely since then and I know for a fact that both Sasuke and Naruto were holding back to varying degrees during their time in the academy and they are no longer your students, you don't decide what's best for them, I do now," said Kakashi. "That may be, but," said Iruka interrupted when a black blade was placed at his throat, a sand tendril was pointed at his heart and he was looking into a pair of 2 Tomo Sharingan. "We are not the genin you used to teach, we are trained soldiers trained to kill for our village," said Naruto, inching his sword closer to Iruka's throat. "I believe you just got told," Iruka said. Hiruzen. Sarutobi then grabbed a scroll from a pile and tossed it to Kakashi. "You got an escort mission, a bridge builder needs protection from bandits while he finished his bridge," said Hiruzen. Kakashi read what was on the scroll as someone went to get the client. Just as Kakashi was about to say something, the door slid open and a gray-bearded man wearing a green V-neck sleeveless shirt, a pair of gray pants and finally a pointed hat. The man had a bottle of sake in his hand and from the looks of him he was drunk as a skunk. "You lot are protecting me, I paid for ninja not the snot-nosed brigade," said the man. In a second flat he had 3 kunai flung at him, one shattered the bottle of sake, the second sailed past his face and the third sailed between the man's legs very close to his family jewels. "I don't care if you insult me, but you insult my teammate and my fiancé again I will slit your throat myself," said Naruto, not even turning around to face the man. "Naruto, you aren't allowed to kill clients, it's bad for business," said Kakashi. "I don't care, that man insulted my fiancé and one of my very few friends," said Naruto. "Well, you 3 front gates 2 hours," said Kakashi before disappearing in a shunshin. Naruto followed suit, disappearing in a flash of white fire, Gaia in a swirl of sand and Sasuke in a swirl of leaves. Number a Team 7 HOUSE number. Naruto, Sasuke and Gaia all landed at the front door. Once inside they all headed upstairs to pack what they needed. Once they finished they all gathered in the upstairs living room as they still had plenty of time. "Sasuke, drop you henge, transformation, for a moment would you?" asked Naruto. Sasuke nodded and dropped her henge, leaving Sayori in her true form. She had her hair cut in the month since the teams had been formed. It was actually Kurenai who cut the girl's hair. She now had a medium-length ponytail rather than the ground-length ponytail. "Alright, wait here," said Naruto, getting up and walking into his room. Sayori looked at Gaia for an explanation but got a shrug and head shake. Naruto returned a moment later carrying something white. The blonde redhead passed the thing to Sayori. "Here," said Naruto. Sayori took the object. It turned out to be a cloak, a hooded white cloak. "Now before you say anything, it's special. I have customized the cloak and made it what I like to call a shimmer cloak. I have placed a henge seal on the back between the shoulder blades. Just think about what you want to shift to and then pump chakra there. Next it has seals on it that suppress your chakra level and your scent. Also there is a seal on the shoulder of the right sleeve to make a simple bunshin, clone, and on the left shoulder is a storage seal. Finally there are temperature seals placed on it, so no matter where you are you will never be cold nor hot," said Naruto. Sayori looked like she was about to tear up. "You made this for me?" questioned Sayori. Naruto nodded. "You're my friend Sayori, this is what friends do," said Naruto with a smile. Sayori nodded and put the cloak on. It fit perfectly. "Thanks Naruto," said Sayori. Naruto just smiled. Number an hour and a half later number. Naruto, Sasuke and Gaia all stood at the front gate waiting for Kakashi and Tazuna. Sasuke now wore a black cloak on top of his normal attire. The trio waited patiently for their sensei and client. They didn't have to wait long, as just as they were about to complain about the client and sensei being late, the 2 men appeared over the horizon. "What's with the goofy cloak?" asked Tazuna as he approached the genin. "You must be ready to go, so let's get moving," snarled Naruto, walking out of the gate, taking the lead of the formation. Gaia and Sasuke followed Naruto and then after a moment's hesitation, so did Tazuna and finally Kakashi. The team walked at a leisurely civilian pace which to the genin was a snail's crawl, but they were escorting someone so they put up with it. After a few hours of walking, Naruto, who had his rinnegan active, sensed a group of 15 barely genin chakra signatures approaching. After a moment Naruto gave the signal to stop before drawing his Nadachi. "Come out now," growled the blonde genin, his rinnegan eyes going back to his normal icy blue slitted pupil eyes. And like that 15 bandits came out from the trees. "Hand over the old man and all your valuables, and we might let you live," said one of the bandits. Naruto rolled his eyes at the stupidity of the bandits. "Not happening," said Naruto, taking a step forwards, his Nadachi dragging along the ground. "Such a shame, get him boy," said the same bandit. The bandits all charged at the group of ninja. Naruto disappeared in a burst of pure speed and appeared behind one of the bandits, stabbing him through the chest, making some of the bandits turn, but all they saw was the Nadachi sticking out of the man's chest as Naruto had flipped over the man. As Naruto fell back to the ground in front of the bandits, he pushed a second bandit into the impaled one, impaling the second bandit on his blade. 3 bandits charged simultaneously at Naruto as he fell. As soon as the blonde redhead's feet touched the ground, the 3 men were swinging their weapons down on him, but the weapons were blocked by sand. "Gaia duck," yelled Sasuke, pegging a kunai in the general direction of Gaia, who ducked just in time for the kunai to sail over her head and embed itself in a bandit's throat. Gaia-san pushed Naruto's attackers back. "Sasuke, light the bitches up," said Naruto. Sasuke nodded and flipped through hand signs. "Haten Gakakyu no Jutsu, fire style great fireball jutsu," called Sasuke as he launched a huge fireball towards the bandits. Naruto jumped between Sasuke and his fireball, doing hand signs of his own. "Gyuten Sonokubmu no Jutsu, wind style Sonicboom jutsu," called Naruto, clapping his hands together. The result was instantaneous. A blade of wind exploded out from Naruto's hands, cutting through and absorbing the fire from Sasuke's fireball and continuing on its destructive path in a 180-degree arc from Naruto. The flame blade expanded outwards, engulfing 7 of the remaining 12 bandits in its destruction. "Naruto, Sasuke back," yelled Gaia. Both genin did as instructed and jumped back. Gaia then went through hand signs, ending by clapping her hands together. "Ryusa Bakuryu, sand tsunami," called Gaia as a huge wave of sand that could only be described as a tsunami arose from behind her before crashing forwards towards the remaining bandits. "Get out of here," yelled on the bandits. "What are these 3?" screamed another. "Monsters, run," said a third as the 5 living bandits ran for their miserable lives, only to have their hopes and bodies crushed as the sand came over them. The 3 Konoha genin stood back and admired their handiwork. "Do you still wish to not be guarded by us, Tazuna-san?" asked Naruto, turning to face the very scared man, who shook his head violently. Naruto nodded to himself before holding his hand up like he was about to sheath his Nadachi, and to Tazuna's surprise, the Nadachi that was impaling 2 bandits disintegrated into rose petals which flew over to Naruto before reconstructing themselves into the Nadachi, which once reconstructed Naruto let fall into its sheath. "Good, let's move on then," said Naruto, walking on, followed by Gaia and Sasuke. After another 5 minutes of walking, Naruto turned to Sasuke. "I think we're far enough if you want to drop your henge," said Naruto. The dark-haired emo prince nodded and the air around him seemed to shimmer. From the back nothing was different, but from the front one would see Sayori had released her henge. The 4 ninja and their client continued onwards for several hours uninterrupted. However, that was interrupted when all 4 ninjas spotted a puddle of water in the middle of the road. Now that would be normal if it had been raining recently, but it hadn't rained in weeks, making alarm bells go off in the ninjas' heads. Naruto's subtlety started to reach for his Nadachi, Sayori reached for her kunai, and Gaia's sand gourd uncorked itself, letting the cork disintegrate into sand that fell in with the rest of her sand. Kakashi almost cracked a smile at his team while preparing to use a kawarimi substitution if needed. The 4 ninja and their client walked past the puddle no problems until the 3 genin and their client heard the sickening sound of flesh being sliced by metal and turned to see Kakashi had been caught by a pair of ninja, former Mist Ninja, if their scratched mist headbands were anything to go by, and Kakashi was wrapped up in a chain that went between the 2 Mist Ninja's large gauntlets. Before anyone could do anything, Kakashi was sliced up. "One down," said one of the 2 ninja as the 2 of them charged at the genin. Gaia and Sayori both jumped to the side to avoid the chain, Gaia-san taking Tazuna with him. Naruto simply jumped up into the air and rolled sideways as the 2 Mist Ninja passed under him. Naruto pointed his hands down towards the chain joining the gauntlets, and then a glowing golden chain shot out of his hand and wrapped around the Mist Ninja's chain. As Naruto landed on his feet, he caught the front end of the chain and pulled it back, hoping to knock the enemy ninja off their feet. It worked to a degree. Both Mist Ninjas stumbled a bit before they simply let detach the chain from their gauntlets. "Takra chains and Uzumaki," said one of the Mist Ninja, running towards Naruto with his gauntlet raised in a motion to slash the boy into pieces. Before that could happen, the man's gauntlet was kicked off target courtesy of Sayori, who had rolled next to Naruto and did a handstand split kick. The second Mist Ninja charged at Tazuna only to have Gaia step between them, but then Naruto jumped between the 2. Futenrapusho, wind-style gale palm, called Naruto, forcing the second mist ninja back into the first one. Naruto then quickly dropped to the ground, planting his hands on the ground, and in the blink of an eye, and before either mist ninja could move, a pair of golden chains shot out of the ground and wrapped around both mist ninja. "Quickly put these on them," said Naruto, pulling out two pieces of paper with a seal on each of them. He handed the seals to Gaia, who quickly ran forwards and slapped the paper onto the two men's heads. The two men's heads slumped down. "Kakashi-sensei, you can come out now," yelled Naruto. Futen Sonokubmu no Jutsu, wind-style Sonicboom, C-rank short-range user claps hands together, shooting out a shockwave in a 180-degree arc, going for about 10 meters. And like that, the wave arc has begun. Now, before people complain and ask why there were bandits first, do you think Zabuza would send even his most expendable followers if he thought that there would only be one jonin at best? No, so bandits first. I don't own Naruto. Kakashi and his team were sent out on a mission this morning, a simple C-rank escort mission, but I have just received word that they have encountered a pair of C-rank missing nin, and apparently they were following an A-rank nin, so Kakashi sent a letter requesting backup, and specifically you two, and don't worry about your team, Kurenai-san, Nico can fill in for you until you get back, said Hiruzen. Looking over his desk at Kurenai and Anko, who were both looking worried. Here is a copy of the mission scroll, you leave as soon as you are able, said Hiruzen, handing the scroll to Kurenai, who took it, and then both women bolted out of the Hokage's office and ran home to get what they needed. Number with Team 7 number. It had been a while since Kakashi had sent the message requesting the backup. The group had decided to move from where they fought, so they were continuing their journey to the wave. They walked at Tizuna's pace along the road. The group had experienced no problems since they encountered the demon brothers. Naruto was so bored he had disintegrated his petal Nadachi and was making random things out of the petals. Gaia was much the same with her sand, and Sayuri, well, if she had something she could make random shapes out of, she would be doing it. "Look, dog," said Naruto, holding his hands out with what looked very much like a dog made of rose petals. "Eagle?" questioned Gaia, holding her hands apart to make roughly a bird shape. "Close enough," muttered Naruto. "Would you two stop that?" half asked, half growled Sayuri. "Sorry, Yuri-chan," muttered Naruto, reforming his Nadachi and sheathing it. "Spoil sport," muttered Gaia as her sand receded into her gourd. The group walked for another hour before anything else actually happened. At the hour mark they came to a river where a man with a boat was waiting for them. The group got onto the boat and floated across the river into the fog beyond. "That's a big bridge," whispered Naruto as the bridge became visible through the fog. "It's huge," whispered Gaia in wonder. "Yeah, and it's the only hope of my country," muttered Tizuna. The three genin just looked on in awe of the huge structure. The boat sailed close and closer to the other side of the large river, and the ninja prepared to disembark. The boat floated up to the bank, and a group of 5 disembarked and thanked the rower before they continued their trek through the mist. Sayuri reached for her kuani, Gaia let the cork from her gourd disintegrate into sand, and the handle of Naruto's Nadachi began to peel off and fall away. Kakashi had to admit, despite having taught them little so far, he was proud of his genin. The 4 ninja and 1 civilian walked through the forest until in the blink of an eye Naruto pulled out a kunai and threw it into a bush. Everyone turned to the bush as he walked over to it and parted it to reveal. "The bunny? Don't scare me like that, kid," said Tizuna, however he was ignored. "It's white in the middle of spring, that means it's been kept indoors, most likely for kawarimi substitution, fuck," thought Naruto. "Down!" screamed Naruto, tackling the 2 closest people to the ground, which just happened to be Sayuri and Gaia. Luckily Kakashi managed to pull Tizuna to the ground as he went down. A giant cleaver-like sword flew over their heads just at the height of where their necks previously were. The blonde genin looked down to the 2 girls who were under him. "You two okay?" asked Naruto, looking at both girls who, despite their best efforts, had a slight dusting of pink on their cheeks. Gaia snapped out of it first. "Yeah, we're fine thanks to you," said Gaia. Naruto nodded and got off them and offered each a hand to get up. Naruto pulled both girls up simultaneously and then turned as a voice behind them spoke. "Ah, Kakashi of the Sharingan, no wonder the demon brothers failed," muttered the voice. The voice belonged to a man who was standing on the hilt of the sword that just flew over their heads. The man wore baggy blue pants with a camo pattern on them. He wore bandages around the lower half of his face covering his mouth. He wore a crossed mist headband slanted on his head. "Zabuza Mamachi, demon of the bloody mist," muttered Kakashi, reaching for his headband. "You 3 Delta formation, stay back, I'll handle him," said Kakashi. The 3 genin moved in front of Tizuna in a protective triangle as Kakashi lifted his headband, revealing his fabled Sharingan eye, the eye that he had used to copy over 1000 jutsu. "A Sharingan so soon, I'm honored," said Zabuza, grabbing the hilt of his sword and jumping onto a nearby lake. "Kurigakur no jutsu, hidden mist jutsu," called Zabuza as the entire area was encased in a thick mist. "Now which one of the many kill points to use?" mused a disembodied voice of Zabuza as he flooded the area in Kai. Kakashi let his own Kai be added to the mix. This is what a battle between jonin is like. It's unbearable, I feel like I'm choking, thought Sayuri to herself, raising one of her ready kunai to her throat. Sayuri, don't worry, I won't let my team die, trust me, said Kakashi, turning back to his team, giving them a nice smile. Don't make promises you can't keep, said Zabuza as he appeared behind the group of genin in front of Tazuna. At that moment a sand tendril, a black-bladed Nadachi and a pair of kunai were driven into Zabuza, who burst into a puddle of water. And you don't make threats you can't keep, said Naruto, letting his Nadachi peel away again. Zabuza raised a non-existent eyebrow at Naruto's sword but ignored it in favor of planning his next attack. Kakashi kept his senses peeled for the next attack from the Mist Demon, hoping not to get caught off guard a second time. Zabuza once again appeared from out of the blue, this time behind Kakashi, and before the Cyclopean Jonin could blink he was sliced in two. However, to Zabuza's shock, the two bisected Kakashi bits exploded into water and he felt cold steel at his neck. It's over, said Kakashi coldly. Zabuza, however, started snickering that quickly evolved to the point of full-blown hysterical laughter. You seriously think you can beat me with those monkey see monkey do tactics? Questioned the psychotic swordsman as he dissolved into water. Uzubunshin, water clone, said Kakashi, shocked, looking around for the real Zabuza. It was only Kakashi's instincts that saved him from being sliced in two as Zabuza's sword came down on his previous position. However, Kakashi didn't expect Zabuza to use the momentum to kick him back 50 meters and into the lake behind him. Once Kakashi reached the surface of said lake, he noticed something. This water, it's denser than normal, fuck, muttered Kakashi as he scrambled to get out of the dense water, but it was too late as Zabuza appeared behind the silver-haired jonin, completing a hand sign sequence. Tsurum no Jutsu, water prison jutsu, called Zabuza, and with that an orb of water appeared around Kakashi with Zabuza holding one hand in the orb. Zabuza then created a one-handed hand sign and a second Zabuza formed out of water in front of the first. You three run Mizubunshins can't get too far from their creators, run away, get to the backup sent from Konoha, forget about me, yelled Kakashi. He's right, kiddies, you might have a chance if you're on, said Zabuza, smirking. Don't underestimate us, Zabuza, we may be kids, but we're still ninja, said Naruto, stepping forwards. Ah, don't make me laugh, when you've hovered between life and death so many times that it doesn't faze you, you may be called a ninja. When you've become so deadly that your profile has been entered into my bingo book, then you may have earned the title ninja, said Zabuza. Fine, I guess we'll have to show you, muttered Naruto, before looking back to his two teammates. You two protect the old man, said Naruto. What are you saying, Naruto? You can't take on a jonin by yourself, we can help, said Sayuri, only to be interrupted. I can protect the old man the best, and you're not used to his level of Kai, leave it to me, said Naruto, turning around to face Zabuza's clone who was cracking his neck. Besides, I don't need to beat him, just hold him off, muttered Naruto as the rose petals in the area floated together too from his Nadachi. Naruto charged at Zabuza's water clone, hoping to catch it off guard with his speed. Naruto brought his Nadachi down on the clone's head, only for the clone of Zabuza to stop it with his massive cleaver. Really, that's all you got? Questioned the clone. Naruto jumped back, but before he could do anything the Zabuza clone had once again closed the distance between the two and was slashing at Naruto with a surprising amount of speed. Naruto tried to block the first strike from the left, only to be flung into a tree. Naruto twisted midair to use the tree as a springboard and launch himself back at Zabuza. The blonde flew towards the Miss Jonin's clone that had its cleaver leaning on its shoulder. What occurred next shocked Zabuza. Naruto's Nadachi disintegrated into rose black and red petals that flew faster than the blonde at the shocked clone that was too slow to defend itself from the speedy projectiles. The first petal brushed past the Mizubunshin, and the clone was engulfed in sparks that quickly destroyed the clone. And that kid could be interesting, muttered Zabuza, who once again created another Mizubunshin, but this time instead of having the clone do the fighting he substituted with it, leaving the clone holding Kakashi in his watery prison. Let's see what you're really made of, boy, that clone was at only 1/10 my full power, let's see how you handle the real deal, said Zabuza with a cruel smirk as he brought his huge blade down on the blonde Riti who lay on the ground. Naruto managed to roll out of the way just in time. Zabuza's blade impacted the ground where Naruto just was. Unfortunately, Naruto didn't have time to reform his blade as Zabuza swung his blade at the boy who could only push off the ground with his hands and backflip to land on his feet. I'll admit the kid's agile, thought Zabuza, bringing his blade down for another slash, attempting to slice Naruto down his middle. However, this time the rose petals of Naruto's Nadachi flew above his head and blocked Zabuza's swing. Naruto took the opportunity to reform his Nadachi as he jumped back from Zabuza. Naruto's Nadachi reformed in the blonde's hands as he swung at the ex-Kirinin, who used his giant blade as a shield to block the incoming blow. However, as the two blades connected, Naruto started to hum with chakra, and the pitch-black Nadachi started to cut into the mist swordsman's blade. Seeing this, Zabuza pushed Naruto back before slashing at Naruto's legs, making the blonde jump. While in midair, Zabuza threw a punch Naruto, sending him back towards his team. Gaya's hand formed a large hand to catch the blonde and put him on the ground. "That was a waste, I thought he might provide some entertainment," muttered Zabuza looking at the downed blonde retard. Naruto pushed himself to his knees. "This isn't working, he's too fast and too strong, I'm going to have to use that," thought Naruto to himself as he pushed himself to his feet. I need blood. Can I?" asked Naruto looking over at his red-headed fiancé. Gaia looked at Naruto worriedly but nodded, leaning her head to the side and moving any hair away from her neck. "Sorry Gaia-chan," muttered Naruto as he sunk his long incisors into Gaia's neck, drawing blood. Well, there's that. The demon of the mist appears. What's going on with Naruto and Gaia? What will happen next? Find out next time on Rinnegan Rose. For all of those who were playing along last time but didn't find the Borderlands 2 reference, it was a reference to Zero's into cutscene. I don't own Naruto. The second Gaia's blood touched Naruto's teeth and tongue, his sclera went pitch black, his eyes went blood red and began to glow. After a couple of seconds, Naruto removed his fangs from his fiancé's neck. All of the wounds on Naruto's body began to seal themselves. Naruto ran his thumb along his incisor, cutting it. The blonde then ran the bloody digit over his palm, and a white porcelain mask appeared in his hands. Naruto then donned his mask, showing everyone else the minimalist pattern on it. The eyes had eye shapes to indicate where they were. Over the left eye was a scar corresponding to where it was on Naruto's face. And on the right cheek there was 6 red rose petals and 2 circles. Despite having no distinguishable eye holes, there was an eerie red glow around the eyes. Naruto from behind his mask glared at Zabuza. "You have made a grave mistake making me resort to this, it will be your downfall," said Naruto in a double tone, one his own and another darker, more demonic. Naruto looked down at the ground and pulled his hood over his head and then just vanished. What the hell's going on with Naruto-kun?" asked Sayori, looking to the redhead for answers. "Naruto-kun is a vampire," muttered Gaia, expecting Sayori to start laughing, but no, the Uchiha heiress raised a brow at that, indicating she wanted more. "I don't feel it's my place to tell, sorry, you'll have to talk with him," said Gaia. Sayori nodded and turned back to Zabuza. Naruto, who had vanished, appeared right in front of Zabuza as he brought his blade down on the Kirinin, who lazily brought his own blade up to block with only one hand. What Zabuza didn't expect was that Naruto was far stronger than before. Zabuza brought his other hand to his sword's handle to push against Naruto's blade. However, the pitch-black Nadachi disintegrated in Naruto's hands, and the blonde used his momentum to flip over Zabuza's blade and deliver a heel drop to Zabuza's head and flipped over the swordsman and once again vanished into the mist. "It's gotten faster and stronger, what's going on?" thought Zabuza, looking around for his blonde prey. "What's going on, Naruto, what just happened to you?" thought Kakashi. Zabuza swung around using his huge sword to block Naruto, who appeared behind Zabuza with a pair of pitch-black katana in his hands, both in reverse grip. "You have a keen sense of hearing, I'll give you that," said Naruto, the eerie glow around his eyes now lilac. Naruto then spun at a fast speed, his blades clashing with Zabuza's, causing sparks to fly before Naruto once again disappeared. Zabuza formed a one-handed hand sign. "Izubunshin no Jutsu, water clone jutsu," called Zabuza, and another 3 of him formed from the water around, then all 3 Zabuzas stood back to back with their swords at the ready. "Smart play but not smart enough," said Naruto from above as he dropped on 2 of Zabuza's clones, piercing their heads, making them disintegrate. Zabuza and his clone brought their blades down on Naruto. "Naruto-kun," called Gaia. Naruto spun with his blades low to the ground. He hit Zabuza's clone in the leg, causing it to pop. However, the real Zabuza was faster and jumped over the blonde's blades. However, what happened next the former Mist Nin couldn't have predicted. Naruto sprouted a tail, it looked like a saw blade. The shiny pointy thing shot at the still airborne Zabuza, who used his blade to block the tail. Naruto, however, was not actually aiming for Zabuza, instead for the clone holding Kakashi. The blade pierced a water clone which disintegrated. The orb of water holding Kakashi then dissolved, allowing him to escape. Naruto's saw blade tail then disappeared and his 2 katanas erupted with lighting and Naruto started spinning like a top. His lightning blade spun with him like a deadly saw blade headed straight for Zabuza, who jumped back to avoid the blades with little luck. Naruto refused to let up, he kept spinning at the swordsman. Zabuza had to block Naruto's ferocious attack with his sword. Naruto's 2 katanas sliced a good 5 inches into Zabuza's 12-inch thick blade. Zabuza kicked Naruto back. Naruto skidded backwards, cutting deep into the ground as he went back. Naruto came to a stop in a crouched position, his 2 katanas up to the hilt in dirt. The blonde ripped the blades from the ground and threw them up into the air, where they fell apart into a huge cloud of petals. "Aramagedon Hanabira Munsarasa, Armageddon Petal Moon Slasher," called Naruto. As he did the sky darkened, the black petals from Naruto's blade formed a crescent moon, and the red ones formed a blood-red blade which Naruto jumped into the air and grabbed by the hilt and slashed through the black petal moon and flew down towards Zabuza, who could do nothing to avoid the attack. Naruto ran his blood-red blade through Zabuza's chest about 3 inches deep. The second Naruto hit the ground, the black petals from the moon rained down upon Zabuza, cutting him many more times on the arms, legs, chest and everywhere they could. Zabuza dropped to one knee as blood poured out of his chest. Zabuza tried to force himself to stand. Before anything else could happen, several senbon needles flew into Zabuza's neck and he fell to the ground. Naruto's was once again on guard as he looked around. "I thank you for your help, I've been tracking him for weeks, he's a slippery one," said a masked person from a tree branch a little distance away. The clothes the person wore hid their gender rather well, so the Konohinin could not tell if it was a girl or a boy with long hair. The masked person dropped to the ground and walked over to Zabuza. "Now if you'll excuse me, I'll take care of the body," said the person, disappearing in a water vortex. Once the masked individual had gone, Naruto fell to one knee, breathing hard. "Naruto-kun," yelled Gaia, running over to the downed blonde. "I'm fine, Gaia-chan, that jutsu still takes a lot out of me," said Naruto as Gaia pulled him up with one of his arms over her shoulder. On you 3 wave isn't far right, Tazuna-san?" questioned Kakashi, getting a nod from the man in question. Just as the Konoha ninja were about to leave, 2 more people landed in the clearing. "Is everyone alright?" asked a familiar voice. Everyone turned back to see Kurenai and Anko standing there, the former looking worried. "Yeah, everyone's good, Ka-chan," said Naruto, taking his mask and hood off. Kurenai let go of the breath she didn't know she was holding. However, when she got a good look at Naruto, her motherly instincts kicked in and she rushed over to her son. "What happened to you?" asked Kurenai, looking him over. "I can depict a fight with a jonin," said Naruto, looking at the ground. "You what?" screamed Kurenai. "Kakashi Sensei was caught in a water prison, we needed to get him out, Yuri-chan isn't used to the Kai and it could have cost her, and Gaia-chan was the best defense for the client, so I had to fight the opponent," said Naruto. "And who was the opponent?" questioned Anko. Naruto muttered something, but neither Kurenai nor Anko could hear him. "Say again," said Kurenai. "Zabuza Mamachi, the demon of the mist," muttered Naruto, his head down. "Naruto, that was a stupid idea," said Anko. "You think I don't know that?" growled Naruto. "I just wasn't going to let my sensei die, nor was I going to let my teammates get hurt," said Naruto, glaring at the ground. "Just be more careful next time, Naruto, you may not want to lose your sensei and teammates, but all of us don't want to lose you," said Kurenai, wrapping her arms around her son. "Alright, Ka-chan," said Naruto, smiling as he wrapped his arms around his mother. "Alright, enough of the mushy stuff, we still have a mission to do," said Anko with her typical snake-like grin. "Anko-sen's right," said Gaia. Naruto and Kurenai separated and the Konoha ninja and their client set off once again to wave. As the 6 shinobi walked into the town, they couldn't believe what they saw. The whole place looked like a war zone or a red light district. Most of the buildings were either broken in some way or boarded off by planks off wood with signs on the door saying closed. The shinobi were disgusted by what they saw and simultaneously made promises with themselves to help the country in any way they could. The group walked through the town, seeing more and more horrifying sights: women in alleyways, no clothes on, dripping with bodily fluids that weren't their own, children with no visible body fat. Naruto, who was being supported by Gaia, stopped and reached into his bag, pulling out a scroll. The others stopped and looked back at Naruto as he unfurled the scroll to reveal a sealing matrix on it. Naruto placed his hands on the scroll and pumped chakra into it, and a plume of smoke appeared from the scroll. Once the smoke cleared, it revealed several large bread rolls. Naruto picked up the bread rolls and walked over to a nearby alleyway and handed the kids the bread. "Here, take it, don't eat it all at once, okay?" said Naruto, getting nods out of the kid. Naruto smiled at the young children no older than 5 before rejoining his teammates as they headed to the edge of town. The 6 ninja and 1 civilian came to a house on the outskirts of the village. Tazuna opened the door and walked in. "Tsunami, Inari, I'm back," yelled the bridge builder as he walked in. "Dusan, thank Kami," said a woman walking out of the next room and hugging the bridge builder. "I'm fine, Tsunami, thanks to these ninja," said Tazuna, indicating the Konoha ninja behind him. Tsunami turned to them and bowed. "I thank you all for keeping my 2 cents safe," said Tsunami. "No problems, miss, just doing our jobs," said Kakashi with an eye smile. "Just go back to your village before you die," said a young man from behind Tsunami. "Inari, don't be so rude," scolded Tsunami. "Well, it's true, they're just gonna die," said Inari before turning around and going back to his room. "I'm sorry about him, he lost someone precious to Gato, and since then he's been down a lot," said Tsunami. "It's okay," said Kurenai. "Right, well, we need to have a little discussion, excuse us," said Kakashi, leading the Leaf Ninja outside. Once outside, Kakashi quickly brought Kurenai and Anko up to speed on what had happened to them since they left Konoha. Now after all of that I think Zabuza's still alive and kicking, said Kakashi. You too, muttered Naruto. Yes, the hunter ninja used senbon, very rarely do those kill, that and he took the body away. Hunter nin are supposed to destroy the body on the spot, taking the head as proof of the kill, said Kakashi. My thoughts exactly, said Naruto. That reminds me, what happened to you, Naruto? Questioned Kakashi. What do you mean? Asked Naruto, confused at the question. You bit Gaia's neck and suddenly became faster, stronger, and from the looks of it, you had better control of your chakra, said Kakashi. You resorted to that, Naruto? Questioned Kurenai, concerned. Naruto simply nodded to his mother. Yes, I had no other choice, I had to use my vampirism, said Naruto. So what Gaia said is true, you are a vampire, said Sayori. Naruto nodded to the Uchiha. Yes, I am a vampire, but I try not to drink blood that often, I just don't feel right doing it, but when I do my strength, speed, chakra control and chakra capacity increase exponentially, allowing me to perform techniques that I normally can't. The effect lasts for about 3 days before I go back to normal, unless I use up all of my chakra, and the reason I don't burn up in the sun is because of one of the powers of my rinnegan eyes, it allows me to cover my skin in armor, which is enough to stop the sun's rays, said Naruto. Anyway, what are we going to do about Zabuza? Asked Kakashi. Aramagedon Hanabira Munsarasa, Armageddon Petal Moon Slasher, S-rank short to medium range petals from a specially designed weapon form a crescent moon, and a normal katana user then forces chakra into the atmosphere, forming a temporary ninjutsu that darkens all light sources, making the attack almost unavoidable. The user then leaps into the air and takes the katana by the handle and slices through the moon and into the victim, and then seconds later the remnants of the two halves of the crescent moon rain down on the victim, causing more damage. Alright, chapter over. I don't own Naruto. It was night in Wave Country, 5 days after the Konoha ninja had arrived to help. The 3 jonin had been taking shifts guarding the bridge and training the 3 genin who had been training non-stop. Kakashi had been getting his genin started on elemental manipulation, which luckily for him all 3 genin had some level of affinity for his prime affinity, lightning, so Kakashi had started them off on the manipulation of lighting, first stage trying to crinkle a leaf with just chakra. Naruto had picked up the training the quickest, but that was because, as he explained, he already had some amount of control of lightning manipulation and a rather high affinity for lighting. Gaia also had a high affinity, and she was getting the exercise rather easily. Sayori had been the slowest of the 3, but she was still managing to keep up with the other 2. When Kurenai was teaching the genin, it was all about control. Sayori was the best when it came to chakra control, which is why Kurenai was teaching Sayori a couple of genjutsu. Naruto was having little problems with his chakra control, but that was mostly because he had trained under his mother for many years, so his control was still above average, and Gaia was between Sayori and Naruto. Anko's teaching was a little different to Kakashi's and Kurenai's. Anko mainly relied on throwing sharp objects at the genin to up their physical capabilities. Naruto, again having trained under his mother for many years, was doing better than his teammates, but was not escaping entirely injury-free. Anko was also focusing on Sayori to get her used to large amounts of Kai. The 6 Konoha ninja were eating their dinner with the client and his family. Inari, who had only been angry about the ninja, was currently glaring at a grinning Naruto. Finally, after 5 days, the young boy could no longer take it. Why do you even try? Questioned Inari. You're all just going to die anyway, no one can beat Gato, continued the boy. Gato is too strong, no one can beat him, so just go home back to your happy lives in a village far away with no problems in your worlds, shouted Inari. The room's temperature dropped several degrees as he said that. Tell me, kid, have you had everyone you've ever cared about ripped away from you? Asked Naruto. What about had both your parents killed by something sealed in someone you now see as a son? Continued the blonde redhead. Perhaps you have been tormented because of something a teacher did, said an angry Naruto. Maybe even you've had an entire village hate you for something you had no control over, spat Naruto. Or have you had your entire family and extended family killed in one night by someone you trusted more than anyone else, yelled Naruto. Tell me, have you bled enough to paint an entire continent red with your blood, been poisoned enough to kill the population of one of the great ninja villages, been covered from head to toe in oil before being lit on fire, hit with bolts of lightning bigger than your arm, been buried alive, cut more times than physically possible, has your very existence been denied? Does your body look like this? Growled Naruto, ripping off his shirt, showing everyone in the room the extensive scarring covering his body. Kurenai and Anko, who had never seen all of the scarring, were horrified. Tazuna and Tsunami almost threw up, Gaia and Sayori could only hold back tears, and Kakashi refused to even look at the boy as he'd seen the scarring before and didn't wish to see it again. When you look like this you can complain, said Naruto, putting his shirt back on and leaving the room and the house altogether, slamming the door behind him as he went. Why did he never tell us it was that bad? Asked Kurenai, looking at her wife, who was too shocked to respond. He didn't want you to worry for him, and besides it all happened before you took him in, said Gaia, who was sadly looking towards the door. All that stuff he said Tsunami. The first bit about having all those you care about being ripped from you was me, said Kakashi. The parents killed by something sealed in my son was me, said Kurenai looking down. The teacher bit was mine, muttered Anko. Hatred of a village for something out of my control was me, sobbed Gaia. The family killed in a night was mine, said Sayuri, wiping tears from her eyes. And the rest that couldn't all happen to one child? Questioned Tsunami. All she got as a response was sad looks. That did all happen to Naruto? Questioned Tsunami unbelievingly. In a 2-year period, said Gaia. Everyone looked to the girl for further explanation. After he was kicked out of the orphanage and before he was taken in by Kurenai-san and Anko-san, said Gaia looking at the ground, a few tears falling from her eyes. Number meanwhile OUTSIDE number. Naruto was standing in front of a tree with his Nadachi drawn. The pitch-black blade began to whistle with wind chakra. The whistling got higher and higher pitch until it sounded like the blade was screaming. Naruto then ran at the tree in front of him and in a single instant turned it into splinters. Naruto was pissed. No, he was beyond pissed, so much so he started to leak red bubbly chakra. Naruto the flip through hand signs at a quick pace. Raiden Boruto Asatomu, lighting style Boltstrom, called Naruto after completing his last hand sign before throwing his arms out and lightning bolts shot out of his body up into the night sky. Once the lighting subsided, Naruto once again speed through hand signs. Peyton Hono Suitor plus Mew no Jutsu, Fire Style Blaze Stream Jutsu, roared Naruto, breathing out a 15-foot stream of white hot fire into the air, lighting up the forest. From there Naruto dropped into his Taijutsu style, which was a combination of the evasive maneuvers and strong defense of the Uzumaki Whirlpool Fist and the speed and strength of Genken. Naruto charged at a tree and sent a single punch at the center of it, where the blonde's fist hit the tree it turned into splinters, and with a great groan the tree fell down. Naruto spun around and pegged 3 kunai at 3 separate trees. The weapons hit all 3 trees and went all the way through them, creating holes several times bigger than the weapons, before embedding themselves in a rock, through 3 more trees, and landing in the water respectively. "Ai!" screamed Naruto in an attempt to calm down. Naruto dropped to the ground, punching the dirt as he did. Naruto spun and disintegrated into a swarm of bats that flew over to a nearby tree. Once by the tree, Naruto reformed and literally ripped the tree from the ground, and it was no small tree, it was one of the larger if not the largest tree in the area. Naruto then spun with the giant tree turned club, shattering most of the trees in the area. Naruto then threw the tree up into the air. Once the log began to fall back to earth, out of Naruto's right shoulder sprouted a second arm, but instead of a hand on the end there was a cannon. The cannon charged up with what looked like a concentrated ball of chakra, which was then fired into the falling tree, shattering it into nothingness. Naruto stopped for a moment, taking in all of the destruction around him. Naruto just sighed. He sat down with his back to the stump of a tree in a meditative pose and took several deep breaths and began to relax. Naruto let all of the rage leave his mind. When Naruto next opened his eyes, he was in a place he didn't recognize. A calm Naruto looked left and right and saw nothing but dark hallways and water. "I wonder where I could be?" questioned Naruto, looking around again. Naruto stood to his feet and began to walk in a random direction in hopes of getting out. Naruto wandered around what he would call a sewer, but he wasn't 100% sure where he was. Eventually he came to a cage. "Hello?" called Naruto into the cage. He was shocked when a pair of blood-red eyes shot open from behind the bars. "So my jailer finally comes to visit me, how nice," said a deep demonic voice. "Kyuubi," said Naruto, looking up at the great beast's eyes. "So what do you want, runt?" questioned Kyuubi. "Nothing really, I was just trying to calm myself down and ended up here," said Naruto, scratching the back of his head. "Don't start letting people's words get to you, thought otherwise you'll lose what little respect for you I have," said Kyuubi. "Oh, can't have that," said Naruto half sarcastically. Kyuubi just rolled his eyes at the kid. "Whatever, just leave me alone," said Kyuubi, kicking Naruto out of his own mindscape. Number the next morning number. Naruto awoke being shook by his shoulder by a beautiful woman. She had long jet black hair and dark chocolate brown eyes and pale skin. She wore a pink sleeveless kimono tie, together with a white obi sash. "You shouldn't sleep outside, it's not safe with Gato's men all around the place," said the woman. "I can handle myself, don't worry," said Naruto. "Even still, if you don't get kidnapped you'll catch a cold," said the woman. Naruto just laughed at the comment. "I've never once in my life had a cold, I'm almost certain that it's genetically impossible for me to actually catch colds," snickered Naruto. "By the way, do you know what happened here?" asked the woman, looking around. Naruto followed her eyes around the clearing. "It looked so much less damaged last night," muttered Naruto. "So you do know what happened?" questioned the woman. "Yeah, it was me, I was kinda pissed, and I can kinda get out of control when I get really pissed," said Naruto, rubbing the back of his neck sheepishly. "All of this by yourself?" questioned the woman, one eyebrow raised. I am a ninja, Naruto Uzumaki genin of Konohagakure's Team 7 said Naruto proudly. Well Naruto-san I have one question to ask said the woman. Ask away said Naruto. Do you have people precious to you? Questioned the woman. Naruto didn't hesitate. Yes I do declared Naruto. Well that's good it's my personal belief that people become their most powerful when protecting someone precious, that's why I'm out here, said the woman showing Naruto her basket. Ah collecting herbs is your precious person or person sick? Questioned Naruto getting a sad nod from the woman in front of him. Yes my father got in a fight with some of Gato's men and he's injured so I'm looking for some herbs to help him said the woman. Would you like a hand miss said Naruto trailing off realizing he didn't know the woman's name. Haku and I wouldn't mind and lastly I'm actually a boy, said the now identified Haku. Naruto looked at the boy with a look that said really? What? Questioned Haku. There is no way you're a boy firstly I can see the bandages you've used to bind your chest, secondly I can smell the scent of a woman coming from you, and thirdly when you said you were a boy, I saw the deception in your eyes said Naruto. Haku looked sheepish, but then the first thing he had said clicked in her mind. The pervert almost screamed Haku slapping Naruto. Once the blonde recovered from the slap he and Haku got down to work picking the herbs she needed all in all it took about 20 minutes. I would like to thank you Naruto-san said Haku. Please Haku just Naruto I'm not one for honorifics and it was my pleasure said Naruto. Haku nodded and walked away before she was out of the clearing Naruto spoke once more. Make sure Zabuza gets all better Haku-chan said Naruto, but as soon as Haku turned back Naruto was gone. How long had he known? Questioned Haku mentally. Brayton Boruto Asatomu, Lighting Release Bolt Strom, C-rank medium range user forces lightning chakra through one or more of their tenketsu, expelling a bolt of lightning. Peyton Hono Suitor plus Mu no Jutsu, Fire Release Blaze Stream Jutsu, C-rank medium range the user breathes out a continuous stream of fire, the more chakra added to the technique, the longer the stream. Well another chapter over. Just to clarify because some people are getting confused, Naruto is a living vampire as opposed to an undead one, meaning he is still technically alive, he still has all the vampire weaknesses however, has managed to use various techniques to counter the major ones Asura Path armor to counter sun's rays for example. Naruto isn't immortal either, and the only time he gets significant boosts from his vampirism is when he drinks blood which he doesn't do all that often. Naruto has met the Kyuubi I may have Kyuubi give Naruto help with his rinnegan, which again he has no idea how to use because there has only been one documented case in history and the man who had them was lost to time as a myth. Now before anyone complains about the differing description of the jutsu in the chapter vs the bio above the two techniques are of the type that can get shitloads more powerful, with more chakra being pumped into the technique. Until next chapter. I don't own Naruto. Naruto awoke to the sounds of yelling and screaming. The blonde boy jumped to his feet and ran downstairs, where the screaming had come from only to see Tsunami and Inari being threatened by a pair of thugs. I won't let you take my mom declared Inari. Oh look Waraji the kid thinks he's tough, said one of the men trying to take Tsunami. I guess we'll have to fix that said the other man evidently named Waraji taking a step forwards and going to draw his sword. Don't you hurt him in any way I'll kill myself declared Tsunami helping to sway the man. Looks like your mother saved you this time, kid said Waraji stepping back and turning to leave. Inari spotted a knife next to him and grabbed it before running at the men letting out a scream as he did. Waraji turned and saw the kid running at him and drew his own sword ready to cleave the boy in two. However when the samurai thug brought his blade down, it was intercepted by a long pitch black blade. What the? Questioned Waraji only to be hit in the face and sent flying a few meters. Naruto said Inari happily. Naruto rolled forwards from his crouched position and when he was upside down, he pushed off the ground, landing on the second man's shoulders, with his knees resting on the man's shoulders, his head between Naruto's legs. Before another word could be said Naruto violently twisted his hips and a sickening crunching sound was heard as the man's neck snapped and he fell to the ground. Naruto landed with his feet either side of the dead body. Ori. You're a dead man declared Waraji glaring at Naruto as he got back to his feet. Really? Declared Naruto as he disappeared in a swirl of pitch black and blood red rose petals and Waraji was struck by a sharp pain in his abdomen. He looked down, only to see a pitch black blade and blood red blade coming out of him either side of his spine. Because the only dead man I see here is you declared Naruto pushing the lifeless body off his blades. Where's the old man and my team? Asked Naruto looking back at Tsunami and Inari. They've gone to the bridge said Tsunami shivering at the blood-chilling visage of Naruto in front of her. Naruto then closed his eyes for a second, once his eyes snapped open, he raised his two swords up to his mouth and licked the blood from them. As soon as the blood touched his lips his sclera went midnight black and his eyes went blood red. Go back inside, don't answer the door for anyone, and don't leave the house declared Naruto in a double tone before he vanished in a blur of speed. I hope I'm not too late thought Naruto as he ran donning his mask. Number at the BRIDGE number. On the bridge we find Sayuri inside a dome of 21 ice mirrors. She was trying to avoid becoming a human pincushion, and that was no easy task, even with her two-tomoed sharingan, the fake hunter nin was within the mirrors. Sayuri quickly glanced out of the dome of mirrors to her teammate and Sensei's. Zabuza apparently had another pair of ninja on his side, both of special jonin rank. The two were apparently sisters from the Kagaya clan, both having access to the Shikatsunyaku of their clan. Those two were fighting Anko and Kurenai, while Kakashi was holding off Zabuza and his hit-and-missed assault. Finally Gaia was using her sand to protect Izuna. Sayuri jumped to the left, avoiding another volley of senbon from the fake hunter nin. Damn it, how am I going to get out of this? My fire does nothing, I can't use the shimmer cloak and I can't catch this asshole, growled Sayuri in her mind, once again trying to avoid some senbon. She couldn't deflect all of the senbon with her kunai. The hunter nin was too fast for that, her fire jutsu did nothing at all. She was reduced to dodging and hoping either Kakashi, Anko or Kurenai finished up with their fight and jumped in to help. Give up now, I do not wish to kill you, but if I have to I will, said the hunter nin from inside her mirrors. Please just give up, I really don't want to hurt you, thought Haku to herself, preparing another volley of senbon in case. Never, declared Sayuri. Please don't hate me for this, declared Haku as she threw the senbon at Sayuri, who was too tired to dodge them. Sayuri watched in fear as the world seemed to slow down and a figure appeared between her and the needles. It was Naruto. The blonde had arrived just in time to see Haku throw the needles at his friend, and having no other option he threw himself between them. The needles sunk into the blonde's skin and he fell to his knees. Naruto? Questioned Sayuri, looking at her blonde friend, whom then fell backwards, Sayuri managing to catch him just before he hit the ground. Naruto, screamed Sayuri, her eyes suddenly began to hurt, she started to cry over her fallen friend. Naruto, why did you do that? Questioned Sayuri as tear rolled down her face and her eyes hurt more and more. Is this the first time you've had a friend die in battle? This is the world we live in, the world of shinobi, declared Haku, looking sadly down at the boy that had she have met any other time, she would have been able to call friend. Shut up, growled Sayuri, her eyes burned but she said nothing. He was a good person to sacrifice himself like that for you, stated Haku. I said shut up, declared Sayuri, her head snapping up towards Haku, revealing her eyes now had a new pattern to them. Her eyes now consisted of three red-colored black-lined overlapping ovals, her pupil in the middle. The stray word entered Sayuri's mind and almost instinctively she uttered the word while channeling chakra to her left eye. The Matarasu, declared the Uchiha heiress, glaring at the ice mirrors. Said mirror was engulfed in black flames. Shit, said Haku, jumping out of the mirror. Ah damn, those things sting, groaned Naruto from his position in the Uchiha heiress's lap. Naruto, you're okay, said Sayuri, snapping out of her rage and hugging the boy. Now Yuri-chan, remember human pin cushion, said Naruto, wriggling in the girl's grip. Oh sorry, said Sayuri, letting go of Naruto. The blonde sat up and plucked some of the more problematic needles. How are you not dead? Questioned Haku, unbelieving. It's hard to kill me, said Naruto, confusing Haku. Naruto then pulled his Nadachi out of its sheath and tossed it up into the air where it disintegrated into petals. I must remember to always keep my armor up, muttered Naruto, doing a short chain of hand signs, after which nothing looked like it happened. What was that supposed to achieve? Questioned Haku. I would explain it, but I have more important things to handle for now, said Naruto, grabbing some of the needles still in his skin into a small bundle and then dashing forwards and stabbed them into Haku's neck, knocking the girl, then tied Haku's hands and feet together. Yuri-chan, go help Gaia, I have a fight to finish, declared Naruto, walking away. Naruto, there are two more ninja here. Kagaya's fighting Anko-san and Kurenai-san, said Sayuri. Naruto's eyes widened from behind his mask, the glow around Naruto's eyes then changed from the black and red to the rinnegan's lilac. Naruto dropped to his knees, slamming both hands on the ground as he did. Guchiyus no Jutsu, declared Naruto as two sealing matrices spread out from his hands, and from those two matrices smoke poured out and two creatures appeared, one a light blue snake the size of a horse. The snake had light green eyes and a black underbelly. The other creature was a dragon, again the size of a horse. It had golden eyes and silver scales with golden wings. What do you need, Naruto-sama? Hissed the snake. Ah-san and Ka-chan are fighting two Kagayas, apparently I want you two to back them up, declared Naruto. Right away, Naruto-sama, said the dragon, taking flight as the snake slithered off. Naruto made his way through the mist to where he saw Kakashi. So you did decide to show kid, declared Zabuza, appearing between him and Kakashi. What, you expected me not to? Questioned Naruto. Kakashi, go now, Zabuza and I have a fight to finish, said Naruto. Kakashi jumped from his position. Be careful, Naruto, was Kakashi's last piece of advice as he disappeared into the fog. Number a few moments earlier with Kurenai and Anko. Number. Kurenai and Anko were having a few problems with these Kagaya sisters as they wouldn't leave each other's side and no movement from either was wasted and they covered each other's defensive holes perfectly. This is impossible, muttered Anko under her breath. "You can say that again," muttered Kurenai as they once again had to jump to the side to avoid another strike from one of the Kagaya's sisters. Kurenai's genjutsu took too long to weave the hand signs, and none of the ones she needed minimal hand signs for were strong enough to catch either of the sisters, and none of Anko's snake jutsu worked either as the Kagayas just made bone shields to stop the attacks. The two were just dodging at the moment, hoping for an opening to present itself. Naruto came the scream of Sayuri. Both Anko and Kurenai got distracted by the scream, and the two sisters capitalized on the opportunity and slashed both women across the chest. "Fuck," muttered Anko as she felt a deep gash stinging. She looked over to Kurenai, only to see her wife on the ground bleeding and barely holding on to her consciousness. "No, no, no, this can't be happening. Something is happening to Naruto, and I can't help him, and Kurenai is hurt, and I can't help her," thought Anko to herself. A stinging on her neck alerted her to an option. "No matter what Naru-chan said he did, I still don't want to use it," thought Anko, but it seemed all other options were gone. Anko forced herself to her feet. "Oh look sister, the snake woman thinks she can still fight," said one of the Kagayas. "Oh how amusing," said the second sister. "You never corner a snake because when you do the snake has no ground to lose," muttered Anko as she willed the mark on her neck to spread across her shoulders and up her neck. "What are you muttering about?" questioned the first sister. The markings on Anko's neck spread up and down her body. Once they got to her midsection, the cut that had been there stitched itself shut, and as it reached her eyes the sclera turned pitch black. "And it will bite back," declared Anko in a double tone similar to Naruto when in a vampiric state. "Anko-sama, Naruto has sent us to assist you," said a horse-sized blue snake as it approached. "Us?" questioned Anko. "Up here, Anko-sama," said a horse-sized dragon descending from the clouds. "Perfect," muttered Anko, quickly flipping through hand signs. "Or get Kurenai out of here," ordered Anko. The snake and dragon only then noticed Kurenai on the ground unconscious. "Right away, Anko-sama," declared the snake, slithering over to the downed form of Kurenai. "We won't let you," growled the second Kagaya sister, leaping towards Bora. "Futenryu Habataki no Jutsu, wind-style dragon wingbeat jutsu," called the dragon, flapping his wings, sending a wind gust towards the Kagaya, simultaneously pushing the woman back and cutting her skin lightly. Meanwhile the other sister was running at Anko, who was still weaving hand signs. "Kaitenrika no Jutsu, fire-style fire dragon jutsu," called Anko just before the Kagaya reached her, and as she did she spewed out a huge fireball that took the shape of a dragon and flew into the Kagaya, lightly burning her clothing and forcing her back. "Damn it," muttered the first Kagaya before looking over to her sister. They both gave a quick nod and then both ran at Anko. "The Senka no Mai Hana, dance of the clematis flower," called the first sister as she ran at Anko, and as she did many bones grew out of her arm into the shape of a drill. "The Senka no Mai Tsuru, dance of the clematis vine," called the second sister, pulling out her own spine. "Blaze," called Anko, looking over to the dragon, who nodded at Anko. "Futenryu Habataki no Jutsu, wind-style dragon wingbeat jutsu," called the now identified Blaze, once again flapping his wings, causing a huge gust of wind to fly forth. "Peyton Haramagedon no Furia, fire-style Armageddon flare," called Anko, spewing out a stream of white fire that was about 5 meters wide at the end, and it hit Blaze's wind gust and picked up in power, spreading out another 5 meters, but still retaining all of the intensity. "Oh," said one of the Kagayas. "Fuck," said the other, finishing the thought as both were engulfed in the white-hot flames. Once Anko stopped the jutsu, she fell to one knee, and her curse mark receded to its position on her neck. "Fuck, that jutsu still takes a lot out of me, even with the curse mark," muttered Anko, her voice returning to normal. "It matters not, Anko-sama, the fight is over," said Blaze. Anko looked up and there were no bodies, no ashes, nothing. "That may have been a little bit of overkill," muttered Anko, pushing off of the ground with one hand. The mist began to clear and she heard clapping. "Peyton Haramagedon no Furia, fire release Armageddon flare, S-rank medium range user spews forth a tidal wave of white-hot flames that spans 10 meters in width and 5 meters in length. Futenryu Habataki no Jutsu, wind release dragon wingbeat jutsu, C-rank medium range user flaps wings arms and summons blades of wind that push the opponent back and slice them." Another chapter done. I don't own Naruto. Kakashi and the rest of the Konoha ninja just arrived at the bridge with Tazuna in tow, only to see the structure covered in mist. "It's Zabuza, he's back," said Kakashi. The mist parted to reveal 4 individuals, Zabuza, the fake hunter nin, and 2 female Kagayas, if the 2 dots on each of their foreheads were anything to go by. "Oh, you seem to be missing one," said Zabuza. "He's a little busy at the moment, but I will kindly fill in for him," said Kakashi. "Sayuri, you take the hunter nin, Guy, you protect Azuna, Kurenai, Anko, you handle the 2 Kagayas," ordered Kakashi. Zabuza's accomplices looked at him, he simply nodded, and the 3 who all jumped off in different directions. The Konoha ninja all jumped off to fight their opponents. Kakashi pulled out a kunai and lunged at the ex-Kiri swordsman. "So where is Blondie really?" asked Zabuza, blocking Kakashi's kunai slice with his giant cleaver. Just handling some things, said Kakashi. Well, in that case I guess I'll have to finish my job and go find him, said Zabuza as the mist encompassed him. Kakashi quickly moved his headband up to reveal his Sharingan. Zabuza using his mist to hide attacked Kakashi, slicing at his midsection. The only thing that saved the silver-haired Jonin was his experience and Sharingan. Due to those two factors, Kakashi sensed the incoming danger and rolled out of the way of the blade, but before Kakashi could launch a counter-attack, Zabuza faded back into the mist. Shit, he's hiding in the mist until he can attack, then going back once his attack is done, thought Kakashi to himself as he prepared for another attack. Kakashi closed his eyes and stretched out his other senses in hopes of catching Zabuza. Zabuza appeared behind Kakashi and brought his giant blade down on the silver-haired Jonin. Kakashi brought his kunai up and blocked the blade and followed up, swinging around with a kunai in his other hand, slicing into Zabuza's leg, only for Zabuza to melt into a puddle of water. Should have seen that one coming, thought Kakashi, once again preparing for another attack. Kakashi stood there once again, his eyes shut, stretching out his senses, hoping to catch some sign of Zabuza so he could deliver an attack of his own. However, his plans were cut short when he heard a scream. Naruto, came the terrified voice of Sayori. No, something's happened and I can't help fuck, growled Kakashi in his mind. Shame, seems Haku took down Blondie. I was hoping to get a rematch. Oh well, muttered the disembodied voice of Zabuza. Kakashi growled at that comment and threw his kunai in the general direction of the voice. He was so pissed he didn't even realize until after he had thrown them that the kunai had been infused with lightning chakra. Kakashi then heard the sound of metal pricing flesh. Fucking bastard, muttered Zabuza, having just got hit on the shoulder, nothing too major but still. Both Kakashi and Zabuza then heard another voice. So sorry to keep you waiting, Zabuza, but I must have missed the wake-up call this morning, came the voice of Naruto walking into the mist next to Kakashi. The two Jonin noticed Naruto's mask eyes were glowing blood red and jet black. Oh good, you are still alive, said Zabuza, the mist clearing just about 20 meters in front of Kakashi and Naruto. Kakashi sensei, I'll handle him, muttered Naruto. Kakashi just backed up close enough that he could intervene if needed. And yes, Zabuza, I'm still alive, no little needles could hurt me, muttered Naruto. Well, since you're here I believe we have a fight to fight, said Zabuza. Indeed we do, said Naruto, his Nadachi disintegrating into rose petals that floated all around him. That trick won't work on me twice, kid, said Zabuza. Then how about a new one, said Naruto, as some of the petals flew over his forearms, slicing through his arm warmers into his skin, letting blood flow from the wound. This drew curious glances from both Kakashi and Zabuza. The blood ran down Naruto's arms to his fingertips as the petals then went back to flowing around him. Naruto, just before the first drop of blood fell from his fingertips, completed a chain of hand signs. Aiten kai no ha, blood style blood blade, muttered the blonde as the blood from his wounds flowed back up his arms and formed backwards, facing 3-foot-long slightly curved blades of his own blood. The blades were red in color and looked to be sharpened on both sides of the blade. Finally, on the lower outwards facing edge of the blades for about half a foot, the blades were serrated. Interesting jutsu, Blondie complimented Zabuza. You have no idea, said Naruto as the petals floated lazily around him. The two ninjas stared each other down. A subtle breeze blew between the two, and as if an unforeseen sign went off, the two swordsmen lunged at each other. Zabuza brought his blade down on top of Naruto to slice him in two, but Naruto crossed his twin blood blades over his head, and the demon of the mist's blade landed between the two blood blades. Naruto tried to knock Zabuza off his feet with a sweeping kick, only for Zabuza to jump up and fade into the mist. Talking about a one-trick pony, muttered Naruto, looking around. Zabuza once again appeared without a sound, this time behind Naruto. Naruto, look out, yelled Kakashi, trying to warn his student. Too late, said Zabuza as he swung his blade as he tried to bifurcate Naruto. Keyword tried. Zabuza's blade was stopped by a hand, and it was Naruto's, but it didn't have a blood blade attached to it. Naruto had sprouted a second right arm from his shoulder. What the hell? Questioned Zabuza. Ah, the Asura path, so many uses, muttered Naruto as he sprouted yet another right arm. However, on the end of this one, rather than a hand, there was a cannon, which a concentrated ball of chakra formed at the tip of the cannon, and in the blink of an eye was fired into Zabuza, who once again splattered into a puddle of water. Do you even know any other Suiton jutsu? Questioned Naruto as his two extra arms sunk back into his skin. Shut up, brat, growled Zabuza from inside the mist. Naruto willed the rose petals that made up his Nadachi towards Zabuza's voice, but alas, it had no effect. You know what, this mist is pissing me off, muttered Naruto, flipping through a string of hand signs. Tonda Tapa, wind-style great breakthrough, called the young rinnegan wielder as a great wind gust kicked up, blowing away the mist, revealing 3 Zabuzas. Naruto then bolted from his position at one of the Zabuzas. When Naruto reached 5 meters from the Zabuza, he jumped into the air and spun like a saw blade into Zabuza, who had brought his own blade up to defend. Naruto's blood blades ground against the former Mist Nin's weapon, only for after a few seconds Naruto in his spinning state to start cutting through the blade, and within seconds the blade was cleaved clean in two, and so was Zabuza, except once again Zabuza dissolved into two puddles. Both of the remaining Zabuzas charged at Naruto, who willed his rose petals towards the left, one who didn't have enough time to deflect the small petals, and hence was shredded by them only once again to burst into a puddle of water. And then there was one, declared Naruto, standing side on to Zabuza. The wind blew over the bridge lightly as the two warriors emitted their kai, trying to unnerve each other. Finally their silence and non-moving period was broken by Naruto, who speak through hand signs. Iten Burdu Kanagona, blood-style blade shatter, called Naruto as he finished his hand signs with his jutsu, declared the two blades made of his blood shattered, and then flew towards Zabuza. The former Mist Nin just put his blade between him and the shattered blood blades. The bits of Naruto's blood blades hit the sword and did nothing more than bounce off. However, once Zabuza looked past his blade, he realized the true purpose of that attack. A distraction with parts of his blood blades. Interesting thought. Zabuza looking around for Naruto. You were a worthy opponent, Zabuza, but I can no longer allow this fight to go on, called Naruto, but Zabuza couldn't pinpoint from where. Well then, prove it, kid, yelled Zabuza looking around. Goro-san Jutsu Kasai Tsubomi Saku, Black Thron Art Fire Bud Bloom, shouted Naruto, appearing 50 meters behind Zabuza, and within a moment he, with his pitch black Nadachi in his hand, he was behind Zabuza, and he swung his blade, which was humming with red chakra, up, hitting Zabuza from below, sending him flying upwards into the sky. Once Zabuza was about 10 feet in the air, a ball of red chakra hit him in his back and exploded into what looked like a flaming rosebud blooming. After the flaming rosebud subsided, a flaming Zabuza fell to the ground in a heap, dropping his sword, which landed a few feet away from him. Naruto cautiously approached the downed swordsman, who to his great surprise was still alive, if only just. It's okay, Gaki, I know I'm gone, but I have to ask you what happened to Haku, said Zabuza, coughing up a glob of blood. She's unconscious but otherwise unharmed, said Naruto. The dying swordsman nodded the best he could. Alright, Gaki, but you better keep her unharmed, or I'll haunt your ass, said Zabuza, grinning but once again coughing up a glob of blood. And while you're at it, take my sword too. I can't think of anyone better to take care of it, said Zabuza as his eyes drifted shut. I promise I'll take care of them both, were the last words the ex-Kiri ninja would hear. Naruto then leant down and removed the Kubikurabjm sheath strap from the corpse of the Kiri nin, and then collected the blade itself, strapping the giant blade to his back over his Nadachi's sheath. That's when both Naruto and Kakashi heard clapping from the end of the bridge. Oh, what a show, I should have that little Miss Demon was all bark and no bite, chuckled a short fat man standing in front of an army of thugs. Naruto growled and glared at the man. I take it you're Gato, growled Naruto. Yes, short stack, that's me, what of it? Questioned the man. It's time you met your end, growled Naruto, stepping over to the corpse of Zabuza. You see that, my dear child, is where you are wrong. I have beside me an army of 500 hired mercenaries, bloated Gato, not looking at Naruto, who had bitten into the neck of Zabuza's corpse and drained what was left of the man's blood. You wanted a demon of the mist, let me show you what you asked for, growled Naruto in a demonic triple tone, his normal two tones, with the addition of yet another voice within his own that sounded like Zabuza. Iten Kai Misudo, blood-style blood mist, growled the demonic and pissed Naruto, and like that the bridge was covered in a red-colored mist. Well, what are you lot waiting for, get him, stuttered Gato. Okeosu Toj, Chaos Thorn, drink of their blood, growled Naruto. Once this was said, his petal Nadachi disintegrated and flew at Gato and his men. The red and black rose petals sliced through thug after thug, killing anyone who got in their way. Within Gato's army, once 500 strong, dwindled to just 50, and it was at this point Naruto called back his Nadachi Kaosu Toj. The blade returned to its owner and reformed into its blade form, and Naruto sheathed the weapon. Now Gato, allow the weapon of the man you insulted to be your demise, growled the infuriated blonde, letting his mist dissipate. Once the mist had fully dissipated, Gato realized his mistake and attempted to get out of it while his men, the remaining ones at least, tried to get away. Wait, kid, I can give you anything: money, power, women, men. Just let me live, begged Gato on his knees. Naruto pulled out his new sword and stalked towards the businessman. You can give me nothing that I want. You cannot give Inari back his father, you cannot give the wave back its prosperity, you cannot give the women lining the alleyways their innocence back, you cannot give the people of the wave back their loved ones, said Naruto as he approached. Naruto stood over the terrified man. And you cannot give Haku her father back, growled Naruto, bringing the giant blade back in one hand before bringing it down and slicing the despicable man in two. Iten Kai no Ha, blood-style blood blade, C-rank close range, using blood from an open wound, be it self-inflicted or otherwise, the user channels chakra into the blood, forming it into the shape of a blade. Item Burdu Konagona, Blood Style Blade Shatter, C rank medium range, having already used Kaiten Kai no Ha the user then allows the blades to disintegrate before then flying at the opponent. Gorosan Jutsu Kasai Tsubomi Saku, Black Thron Art Fire Bud Bloom, a rank close range user channels fire chakra into a blade and rushes the opponent knocking them into the air before letting all of the fire chakra flow from the blade upwards in a fireball that then explodes like a flower bud blooming. Kaiten Kai Misudo, Blood Style Blood Mist, D rank supplementary Kaiten equivalent of Kurigakure no Jutsu, Hidden Mist Jutsu. Another chapter over. I don't own Naruto. That's what happened, Hokage-sama, said Kakashi, finishing his oral report on the mission. Behind the silver-haired Jonin stood Kurenai, Anko, Gaia, Sasuke, Naruto and Haku. Alright, what about you, young Miss Yuki, what do you wish to do? I can offer you a place in this village as either a civilian or a ninja, said Hiruzen. If I could, Hokage-sama, I would like to remain a ninja, and if at all possible I would like to be placed on Naruto-sen's team, said Haku, bowing respectfully to the elderly leader of Konoha. The elderly Kage closed his eyes in thought for a moment, contemplating the pros and cons of the solution. Kakashi, would you be happy to allow Haku to join your team? Questioned Hiruzen. Kakashi lazily shrugged to the village leader. Their decision, not mine, said Kakashi, pointing to his 3 genin. Hearing that, Haku became somewhat nervous. Sure, Sayori had forgiven the ice wielder for what happened on the bridge, but she felt that neither of Naruto's teammates trusted her. I'm fine with it, I'd kind of prefer to keep Haku close. I did make a promise to Zabuza to look out for Haku, said Naruto. Haku smiled at the blonde that she considered her only friend. I don't mind either, Haku's nice, she deserves a second chance, said Gaia, who smiled at the ice maiden, who seemed happy about Gaia's response. Lastly was the response Haku was fearful to hear Sasuke's. After a moment of silence, Sasuke spoke. Sure, I don't mind having Haku around, she's nice, and I think we could become really good friends, said Sasuke, sending a smile towards Haku, who felt happy about the response. She could hear the sincerity in the Uchiha heiress's words, and she hoped that the two could become friends too. Alright, that's settled. From now on, Hakuyuki, you are now a genin on Team 7, said Hiruzen with a smile. Thank you, Hokage-sama, said Haku with a small bow. Now Team 7, you have a week off, use it to help Haku get used to her new surroundings and relax for a while, said Hiruzen with a smile. Oh, and by the way, the deal stays the same with the house sharing, so you guys also have a new housemate, said the elderly Kage with a grin. This drew a confused look from Haku. We'll explain on the way, Haku, just follow us, said Naruto, walking out of the room, followed by his now 3 teammates. The 3 genin left the Hokage's tower. Number back in the Hokage's OFFICE number. Kurenai, you are dismissed, I need to speak to Kakashi and Anko, declared Hiruzen. Kurenai looked at the other 2 jonin quickly before leaving the room. Alright, Kakashi, I know it's still a few months away, but do you plan at this stage to elect your team for the chunin exams? Questioned Hiruzen. Kakashi was somewhat confused by the question, but answered anyways. Yes, I do plan to. They all show skill way beyond their level, and I feel keeping them genin is a waste of their exceptional talents, said Kakashi, still very much confused by the Hokage's question. Alright, that's all I needed from you, you are dismissed, said Hiruzen with a dismissing gesture. Kakashi just shrugged and walked out of the room. What was that about, Hokage-sama? Asked Anko. I'm sorry, Anko, but that rules out you for a chunin exams proctor this time around, said Hiruzen, preparing himself for the verbal lashing he knew was coming. What? Why can't I be a chunin exams proctor? Screamed Anko, pissed off, annoyed and confused all at once. Because Naruto will more than likely be a part of the exams, and you as his adoptive mother could favor him. Before you destroy my hearing, I know you wouldn't, but as the host village we have to eliminate any possible conflicts of interest. I am sorry, Anko, I know how much you like being the proctor, but this time around I'm afraid either you can't or your son can't enter the exams, and I'm well aware of your feelings on that, said Hiruzen. Anko sighed and nodded sadly. Will that be all, Hokage-sama? Questioned Anko. The elderly Kage nodded, and Anko left the room, her head hung low. Kurenai, who had been waiting in the tower lobby, noticed her wife as she came down from the office. An-chan, what happened? Questioned Kurenai, stepping closer to her wife. I can't be a proctor for the next chunin exams, said Anko sadly. What? Why? Asked Kurenai. She too knew how much Anko loved being the proctor of the exams. Conflict of interest. Kakashi has said he will more than likely be nominating his team, meaning our son will be in the exams, muttered Anko. Number back with the GENIN number. The trio of genin were walking along a main road towards there. Despite the best efforts of her teammates, noticed the looks that were sent Naruto's way. Alright, you 3, what's this about house sharing? Asked Haku, trying to distract herself from the look sent her friend's way. Well, there's not all that much to it, but Hokage-sama introduced a new protocol when our graduating year became genin, basically to improve team functionality and teamwork. The teams were all placed into shared housing, said Sasuke. So for the foreseeable future you're living with us, said Gaia with a smile. The ice-wielding Kunoichi nodded with a smile. After a few more minutes the group reached the compound. As Naruto opened the gates Haku's jaw dropped. "This place is beautiful," Naruto-sama exclaimed Haku looking around the compound. "Haku, don't start that, I told you I am your friend not your master," said Naruto narrowing his eyes at the girl. "Number FLASHBACK number." Naruto sat in front of a tree in his team's temporary training ground with Haku in front of him tied with ninja wire to the tree. Everyone else in the entire wave including his teammates, sensei and parents, were all enjoying a party for the wave's new heroes Team 7, Kurenai and Anko. However, Naruto himself had to deal with Haku. What happened? Where am I?" yelled Haku as she awoke, alerting Naruto to her state of awareness. "I'm sorry for tying you up, Haku, but it's for your own protection," said Naruto. "Naruto-san, what happened, where is Zabuza-sama?" questioned the girl looking around. "Dead," said Naruto, simply making Haku's head snap back to him. "I killed him, but with his dying breath he entrusted to me his blade," said Naruto, showing the girl her father figure's former blade. "And he also entrusted me with your safety," said Naruto. Haku once again looked at Naruto, tears forming in her eyes. "I'm sorry that I had to kill Zabuza, but he was targeting my client, and I know this may not be any form of consolation, but I murdered that fat bastard of a midget Gato for the both of you," said Naruto, spitting the name of the filth that had forced his hand in killing Haku's father figure. "You're right, it's not much of a consolation. Zabuza-sama was my last precious person in the world," said Haku, tears rolling down her cheeks as she looked down. "Please Naruto-san, you are a respectable man, please put me out of my misery, please let me rejoin my precious ones," said Haku, her voice and spirit broken, she sounded hollow. "No, I will not let you die now because you feel you have no one left. If you need a precious person, let me be the one, I'll help you." "Haku, I don't want to kill you," said Naruto, grabbing the girl by the shoulders. "But what am I going to do? I have nothing left," questioned Haku. "Come back with us to Konoha, join our ninja corps, gain new precious people. Haku, you have your whole life ahead of you, you just need to reach out and embrace it," said Naruto. Haku looked up at the blonde with a look of mild surprise. Haku then looked away from the boy with a blush on her face. "Thank you Naruto-sama, I am forever in your debt," said Haku, doing her best to bow in her bindings. "No," declared Naruto. "No?" questioned Haku, confused as to what he was objecting to. "You owe me nothing and do not refer to me as Sama, I am not your better, I am your friend," said Naruto, glaring at the black-haired girl. "My apologies Naruto, I didn't," said Haku. "Don't keep apologizing please," said Naruto, looking away from Haku. "Alright Naruto, and thank you again," said Haku with a smile. "No problems, now let's go and enjoy ourselves, the people of the wave are throwing a festival for their freedom, and then tomorrow I'll take you to Zabuza's grave so you can pay your final respects," said Naruto, cutting the wire that held Haku to the tree. "Thank you," said Haku, hugging Naruto. Number flashback, END number. "Right, sorry Naruto, force of habit," declared Haku, looking sheepishly at Naruto. "It's alright, we'll just have to break you out of that habit," said Naruto with a smile as the four genin approached the main house of the compound. Once they all got inside they sat down in the lounge room. "Well Haku, this is our home and where you will staying at least until you make chunin, longer if you so choose," said Naruto with a smile. "I thank you for this opportunity all of you," said Haku with a smile. "I meant what I said earlier, I mean in Hokage-sama's office, I think we could be great friends," Haku said Sayuri, who had released her hinge once she entered the compound. "I really hope so," said Haku with a small smile. "Don't worry Haku, I'm sure we'll all be great friends," said Naruto with a grin. Number after a quick tour of the compound number. The four genin had just finished a quick tour of the compound for Haku's benefits and were now doing their own things. Haku was settling into the room she was given. Sayuri was cooking the four of them lunch, with the help of Gaia and Naruto. He was sitting in the library, with several scrolls laying open around him, all of them on Fuinjutsu. He also had several cage bunshin around the library, reading up on other subjects, ranging from chakra control to elemental jutsu to human biology, one with Haku helping her and another with Sayuri and Gaia. The library was quiet and Naruto had assigned himself the task he was currently doing. He had been working on it for ages but refused to give up and he would continue on it for years longer in his free time. He almost always had shadow clones working on what he needed them to and then worked on his project by himself. "Hey Naruto, what are you doing?" asked Haku as she approached Naruto. She had just finished organizing her room and had originally intended to lend her culinary skills to help make lunch, but Sayuri and Gaia had told her it was under control, so the Ice Maiden had looked for Naruto. "I'm working on a project that I have been working on since I started learning Fuinjutsu about 5 years ago," said Naruto. "Wow, that's a long time for one project, it must be really important to you," said Haku, surprised that Naruto had been working on one project for so long. "Yeah, it is really important to me," declared the blonde. "Do you mind me asking what it is you are actually working on, or is this a secret project?" asked Haku. I am working on a seal that will let people like my Ka-san and Ka-chan have their own biological children, said Naruto scratching his head. But they are already as I said Haku interrupted by the blonde. I mean children that are biologically children to both parents not just one said Naruto. Well that sounds like a noble goal said Haku with a smile. I'm not doing this for any other reason than I know Ka-san and Ka-chan want a child that is theirs, as much as they love me, and I love them they want a child that is entirely theirs, said Naruto with a small smile, thinking of his adoptive parents and how happy they would be with a child of their own. The blonde loved both of his adoptive parents dearly, but he knew they wanted a child of their own, and he wanted a little sibling preferably a sister, but he also knew that neither Anko nor Kurenai would have themselves artificially inseminated to gain said child, so he was working on a way that they could solve both problems. How exactly are you going about it though? Asked Haku confused how a seal would help. Well the short and simple of it is chakra. Said Naruto confusing Haku. Naruto seeing the confused look on his teammate's face decided to elaborate. Well chakra is created within our bodies right? Questioned Naruto getting a nod from the Ice Maiden. And each person has a unique chakra signature right? Questioned Naruto once again getting a nod from the still confused Haku. Well that's because each person's chakra is made up from the genetic code of their DNA, therefore everyone's chakra contains their DNA, so basically what I am trying to do with this seal is make it so once chakra is pushed into it. The seal then takes the chakra and using the genetic code from it, create essentially an artificial sperm which can then fertilize a woman's egg, but with the way the seal is going, it looks like this could be the salvation of women who want children, but don't want anything to do with a male or woman in a same-sex couple or even people in a relationship with multiple partners, as if more than one person was pushed their chakra into seal at the same time the seal would simply combine the genetic code of all people's DNA said Naruto. Wow well I hope you succeed said Haku. Thanks Haku-chan said Naruto with a small smile not noticing the pink spread across Haku's face. It's alright Naruto-kun said Haku with a grin, Naruto looked up only to see Haku gone. Alright chapter over. I don't own Naruto. Team 7 here for another mission. Asked Hiruzen as Team 7 including their new addition walked into the room with Kakashi following closely behind. Yes Hokage-sama another C rank please at Kakashi. Another C rank are you sure Kakashi? Asked a Hokage, Kakashi looked at his team and nodded to the elderly Kage. Alright well I have just the one a town to the west of here near the border with aim is being harassed by bandits, nothing too serious from the reports, but they need to be taken care of said Hiruzen. You can count on us Hokage-sama said Haku, the elderly Sarutobi nodded at the young lady's declaration before handing the mission scroll to Kakashi. Alright you lot west gate 1 hour said Kakashi disappearing in a swirl of leaves. The four genin followed their sensei's lead and disappeared in Shunshin's Naruto, a swirl of white fire, Guy in sand, Sasuke in a swirl of fire, finally Haku, instead of disappearing a swirl of elements she froze solid and then shattered. Number Westgate an hour LATR number. The four genin fitted for their mission appeared in the respective Shunshins. So Naruto-san do you mind if I ask stuttered Haku looking at Naruto mostly at her former father figure's blade adorning his back. How I beat Zabuza? Asked Naruto finishing the girl's thoughts. Haku nodded. It was relatively quick if that's what you wanted to know said Naruto, Haku shook her head. From what I have seen you're not well you are strong, but you're not that strong, and I was also wondering what was with the double tone when we fought however brief it was said Haku. Oh that right that well that's I'm not entirely human, said Naruto making Haku raise an eyebrow. Sigh alright Haku what I am about to tell you does not get repeated ever alright? Questioned Naruto deadly serious. Haku just nodded. Alright Haku I'm a living vampire I am stronger, faster and have stronger senses than other people without drinking anyone's blood, said Naruto. You never actually gave us a full rundown on what happens when you do drink people's blood, so what happens then? Asked a voice from above the four genin recognized it immediately as Kakashi. I do suppose given that you have all seen it and we are all teammates I do owe you that much, but if we're all here let's head out, I'd rather talk on the road than here said Naruto, gesturing to the village around them. The other four nodded and they all set out towards the village of their mission. Well the first and most important thing that happens when I drink blood is, I become mortal for lack of a better word, my mind becomes clouded by bloodlust and brutality, as some of you may have seen my sclera go pitch black and my eyes go blood red, which improves my eyesight even more. My chakra level increases exponentially, and that's saying something given my reserves are normally high jonin level, and I gain access to my chitin, blood style, chakra nature which utilizes my own or another's blood as a weapon, and as you all have heard I gain essentially a second voice, which represents the blood-sucking demon within me. Said Naruto looking away from his teammates and Sensei, Sayuri, who had dropped her henge while Naruto was talking, put a comforting hand on Naruto's left shoulder, Haku did the same on his right shoulder, Kakashi just ruffled the blonde Riteed's hair. Naruto smiled and put his hands over Sayori and Haku's. My vampirism is very much a double-edged sword because even now I have to have armor up using my Asura path so that my skin doesn't burn to a crisp, muttered Naruto. The next question came from the silver-haired Jonin. The mask you wear, is that something to do with the vampirism or is it just a sign you're getting serious? Asked Kakashi. Little bit of both but more of the latter. The mask itself has no link to my vampirism, however I like to wear it when I go into that state as I don't like people to see what I become, so I hide my shame behind a mask, declared Naruto. Kakashi nodded. And the Kuro-san jutsu, Blackthorn art? Asked Kakashi. My Kinjutsu style is the Kuro-san, a style of my own creation. I combined the fast speed and the strong blows of the Uzumaki title slasher, which I learned from Skrulls, with the evasiveness, even faster speed, and the precise attack points of the Luna Blade, which Yugao Oba-sen taught me. The Kuro-san jutsu are just the more powerful techniques based on parts of a rose and an element, said Naruto. Will Zabuza-sama's sword work with your Kinjutsu style? I mean, you normally use an Adachi, will you be able to use your style with a Zanbato? Asked Haku. The Kuro-san was created from two styles that use katana, tantos or wakizashi, so I think I should only have to adjust my style a minimum amount to successfully use Kubikirabacho in battle, said Naruto with a grin. Haku just nodded. The four genin and their Jonin sensei continued their journey west. Number hours, LATR number. Team 7 was walking through a forest, the sun had long dipped below the horizon. They had been running for hours. Alright you lot, let's set up camp here for tonight, said Kakashi, stopping, making the four genin also stop. The 4 teens then began to set up their camp, 3 tents between the 5 of them, one for Kakashi, one for Sayori and Haku to share, and the last for Gaia and Naruto. They set up a small fire and began to cook and eat their food. Alright, who's taking first watch? Asked Kakashi, hoping one of the genin would volunteer, not really wanting to have first watch. So I'll do it, said Naruto, standing up and jumping up into the canopy above, and created 6 Kage Bunshin and activated his rinnegan, as did his clones, all having their shared vision. Alright, Naruto's first, I'll take second watch, then Haku can take third watch, then Sayori and then finally Gaia, declared Kakashi before getting up and heading into his tent. Night Naruto-kun, said Gaia. Yeah, night Gaia-chan, said Naruto, giving his fiancée a wave as she entered her tent. Sayori and Haku both went into their tent, giving Naruto a wave, which he returned. The blonde sat there on the branch of a tree looking up at the moon and the stars above. The blonde Reed sat there on a tree branch in the cool night air, however Naruto's head snapped to the side as he saw through his shared rinnegan vision a bright shape blur past one clone's eyes. Naruto dropped from his position and walked over to a tree where he could look out to see what it was and yet still remain hidden if the thing was an enemy. When Naruto looked around the trunk, he was kind of confused by what he saw. There, standing in front of him and looking right at him, was an ethereal girl who looked like she was no older than him. She looked at him and covered her mouth as she giggled and then ran in the opposite direction. Wait, called Naruto as he ran after her. The boy knew he could be running straight into a trap, but something told him that the ghost girl wanted to show him something, but just in case it was a trap, he let his Nadachi peel away into its rose petal form. The blonde followed the ethereal girl for about 10 minutes before she stopped just outside of a temple and turned to look at him. What is going on here? Questioned Naruto. I apologize for the deception, young rinnegan wielder, but this is important, said the girl in a ghostly voice. What's important? And how do you know I wield the rinnegan? Questioned Naruto. Within these walls there is a scroll that only you can have, young one. It pertains to the powers granted to you by your eyes, which are how I know you wield the rinnegan, said the girl, making Naruto hit himself in the head. How did he forget he had his rinnegan active? Naruto walked over to the temple. I can guide you no further than telling you that the scroll is within the basement. Be careful, you are more important than you know, said the ghost girl. Naruto walked into the crumbling temple and walked towards the stairs that went downwards. Once he was about halfway down the stairs, he created a clone to walk back up and keep an eye on the ghost girl. The real Naruto, however, continued down the stairs. I really hope this isn't going to be one of those temples full of, said Naruto, walking along a corridor only to stop when he felt his foot land on a plate of some sort and he heard a click sound. Traps, muttered Naruto before he saw the side panels of the wall slide down. Oh great mother of flying fuck, said Naruto. He began to run just as Senbin began firing repeatedly out of the wall. To make matters worse, Naruto stood on yet another plate on the floor, which made a panel on the floor about 100 meters in front of him slide into the left wall, revealing a pit full of spikes, the tops of which were all coated in blood. How the hell did I get stuck in this, groaned Naruto as he ran up to the pit and front flipped over it, landing safely on the other side, but he had to continue running as the Senbin were still firing from the walls. Great, just fucking great, whatever the hell this thing is, it better be bloody worth it, growled Naruto as he ran. He then noticed something else down the corridor. You have got to be fucking joking, groaned Naruto as he saw a pile of rubble sitting in the middle of the corridor. There was, however, one saving grace, a small hole in the center of the rubble. Naruto ran as fast as he could, then about 2 meters before the wall of rubble, he dived through the hole with very little clearance between the hole and him. "Just my fucking luck," growled Naruto as he landed in a pool of water, a very deep pool of water. As Naruto looked down, he saw a glowing red eye deep down below him. "This is getting fucking ridiculous," thought Naruto as several tentacles shot from the glowing red eye towards him. "Fuck this shit," growled Naruto in his mind before reaching up and ripping the Kubikirabacho from its sheath. The tentacles got closer and closer to Naruto. Kurosan Jutsu K's Tojiresu, Black Thorn Art Wind Thorn Slice, though Naruto as he forced wind chakra into his new blade, then swung it viciously towards the tentacles and the glowing red eye. Despite the added resistance of the water, the blade sliced through the water before a large blade of wind chakra flew from his blade towards the approaching tentacles, which were sliced in half from the wave, which continued on its way until it hit the red-eyed creature, which let out a high-pitched scream. Naruto swam to the surface and clambered out of the pool. Next morning at the CAMPSITE number. The sun had just risen enough to wake the 4 sleeping ninja, all of whom got out of their tents. "What's going on, where's Naruto?" asked Kakashi as he spotted the lack of the blonde Reed. "Yeah, where is Naruto?" asked Sayori, looking around the little clearing they had called home last night. "Didn't he wake you for you take your shift, Kakashi?" asked Gaia, also looking for her fiancé. It wasn't like Naruto to wander off when on a mission. "No," muttered Kakashi, looking around, trying very hard to find the blonde. He knew exactly what would happen if he lost Kurenai and Anko's child, and it wouldn't be pretty for him. Naruto yelled Gaia, hoping he would call back. "It's alright, I'm here," said Naruto, walking into the clearing. Everyone turned to him and were all shocked to see his current appearance. Naruto was soaked to the bone, all his clothing clung to him, and his hair was not spiky like normal, it was down and covering his eyes. They could all tell he was not pleased. "Don't ask," growled Naruto. Kurosan Jutsu K's Tojiresu, Black Thorn Art Wind Thorn Slice, a rank close to mid-range user coats their blade in Futen and then slashes, sending shockwaves from the blade. Alright, another chapter done. What if Naruto reveals his rinnegan in chunin exams? And thanks for watching my video till the end. If you enjoy this content, then do consider subscribing to my channel and leave a like if you guys need the next part, comment down, and thanks for watching the video and see you guys in the next video.